non-MPs sitting on it, lay members as well as MPs, and I think that strengthens its credibility and impartiality. I think when it was called a kangaroo court, it's probably called it that by Mr Johnson's mates, who, because he wanted to escape scrutiny. Looks like Mr Farage and Mr Johnson have something in common.
Okay. Sir Ed Davey, thank you there. There you have it, Martin. Sir Ed Davey there, a clarifying position which is developing through the day. The Lib Dems tomorrow will not try and delay the by-election in Clacton. That's breaking on this channel moments ago was Davey telling us that, but they will try and amend the writ when it's moved tomorrow to ensure the investigation into financial affairs carries on even when he's not an MP.
Well done, Chris, well done, and particularly well done for putting that point to him. Is the Standards Commission a fair or a kangaroo court? I think there's going to be much more information about who sits on that coming out later. Watch this space. Chris, excellent. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining us at the top of the show here on GB News. Farage's chicken, Ed Davey just said. He is running away from justice. Is that true? Let's now speak with GB News reporter Will Godley, who is there in the heart of where all this matters. Nigel Farage's constituency, of course, of Clacton. And Will Godley, you sat down with Mr Farage earlier on today. Did he come across to you as chicken or a man who is running away from justice?
Well, Martin, he came across very calm and like he was in control. Of course, he made the decision to stand down and made the decision to stand in the by-election that he triggered, a by-election that he has dubbed the people versus the establishment, of course, meaning the people here. But let's remind ourselves of the circumstances Nigel Farage found himself in when triggering this by-election. Well, he was coming over increased scrutiny over his finances. Of course, that £5 million he took from a crypto billionaires currently under a parliamentary investigation, and also coming under scrutiny over money he received from a convicted fraudster as well. Well, when I spoke to Nigel Farage, I put that point to him, and he once again insisted that he has done nothing wrong when it comes to his finances. He said, and I quote, "Everything is within the spirit of the rules." So when I asked him why is he not waiting for the results of this parliamentary investigation before calling a by-election so people here have all the facts available, well, let me tell you what he said. He said he feels it's unfair how the media and political classes are treating him at the moment. He says he's being painted out to be a war criminal. That was the words he used. So clearly he's trying to retake control of the narrative here, but it's up to the people of Clacton. How do they feel to be going to the polls again after going to the polls 2 years ago when they elected Nigel Farage? Well, this is what they told me. Do you think the by-election should happen, but just not yet? Would you rather see the parliamentary inquiry completed?
Yeah.
Why is that?
100%. Just so you know it's true, and it's all whatever he's gone through, whatever he's done, he's all proven innocent. So, and then go from there, and do good for Clacton, do good for whoever, reform, and just go for it.
It's definitely unnecessary, and it distracts attention from what the town needs around here, you know.
Yeah, I think let the people decide. I personally love Nigel Farage. I love everything he stands for, and I think he does good for Clacton.
This is his constituents. Where is he? Where was he? Never here. What did he do? He jumped ship. It is a joke. It's just stupidness.
Well, they are the people, some of the people who will be heading to the polls in Clacton. But does Nigel Farage think it's fair to have called this by-election or not? Well, this is what he said to me a little bit earlier on.
To vote or not to vote is a choice. If you want to, you can ignore the whole thing. I said to people, we'll use the opportunity, because if we don't vote for this, we're never going to get change. And that's the point. Our party is a challenge to the establishment. We want genuine change in the country. We think the whole place is going down the drain, frankly, in lots of different ways. And that's why you've got this mass pile-on from the entire establishment against me. They would love to force me out of the game. They would love to do that. They'd love the whole summer to have free, open reign against me, whilst a committee decides, whether I've broken the rules or not.
Nigel Farage speaking to me exclusively in his first interview since standing down as MP for Clacton here, of course, talking about the establishment and those main political parties, none of whom have said they will stand here. And currently, the only other candidate we know of is Count Binface. So Nigel Farage potentially could spend the next few weeks up against a man with the bin on his head. When I asked him whether he would find that embarrassing, well, he just laughed it off. But that is the reality that Nigel Farage could face here in Clacton.
Superb stuff. Thank you very much there, Will Godley, right in the heat of the action there down in Clacton. Superb. Thank you very much, Will. Now it's time now for the Great British Giveaway and your chance to win 60 grand in tax-free moolah and a real gold bar worth over £5,000. Rachel Reeves won't get a penny of it. It's tax-free. Here's how you could bag the lot.
What would you do with £60,000 cash? What would you do with a real gold bar? Well, both have to be won in our Golden Summer celebration. First, there's £60,000 in tax-free cash to bolster your bank account this year. You can spend it on treats, splash out on the family, or just save it for a rainy day. It's entirely up to you. Plus, we'll also give you a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. That's genuine gold that you could gift to a loved one or just lock up in your own personal vault. The gold and the cash really could be yours. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming next, in return for the deportation of their paedophile Shabir Ahmed, Pakistan is demanding that Britain releases political dissidents from jail in return. Here's the point. Is it time to start a full-blown diplomatic and trade war with Pakistan and tell them to take back their garbage? And also next, after Prince Harry's right royal drubbing in the High Court, might the fallen prince now face an astonishing £50 million legal bill? We'll have all the latest on Harry's High Court walloping. That's next here on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on a BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 3:24. Welcome back. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, Prince Harry has spectacularly lost his privacy case against the Daily Mail's publisher, Associated Newspapers Limited. The judge said, although the allegations were serious, the claimants needed more convincing evidence before they could be proven as true. It's a spectacular, right, royal defeat for Prince Harry. Let's now speak with the legendary royal commentator, Jenny Bond. Jenny, it's an absolute delight to have you on the show, as ever. Well, what a carry on this has been. And the Prince has ended up not only losing, but it could be a spectacularly expensive defeat.
Yes, it's not turned out to be a good week for Harry, has it? You know, no protection, no bed to sleep in, it seems. And now the loss in the High Court. I mean, it's a humbling of him, as the papers have said this morning. Harry caned, Harry humbled, and the Daily Mail blasting over its front page, vindication. And that's what it is. And Harry is going to be spitting mad, and he's going to be a lot poorer, I imagine, because on July the 29th, the judge is going to decide who is going to pay the multi-million pound costs, £50 million in costs this trial has ramped up. So I don't know how it'll be divided between the half dozen plaintiffs. But, I mean, it's pretty certain that Harry's going to have to foot a very large bill.
Now, you'd imagine, Jenny, that between the few of them, they're able to stump up a few quid. Elton John's not shy of a few bob. But Sadie Frost, she might find it a bit more troublesome. But we continually analyse, don't we, the fortune of Prince Harry and his Mrs. Meghan. And are they financially independent? Are they self-sufficient? Have they got a few quid down the back of their sofa? And this will be a significant chunk of money that Prince Harry is expected to fork out here.
Yeah, I suppose you could say that he did have a couple of wins against the Mirror newspapers, and also he settled out of court with The Sun, and he got undisclosed damages from both, so perhaps he can use one to pay off the other. But yes, they are always making it very clear that they need to earn their living, and they've got very high costs for their security and other things. And this is going to make a hole in that budget that they have. But I've never really bought this whole idea of royals haven't got any money. You know, Andrew hasn't got any money. Harry, of course they have. There's being a little short of a bob or two, and there's the rest of us, quite frankly. So I think it's all very relative, and I'm sure he'll be able to stump it up one way or another.
And I wonder, Jenny, if the Prince may look back and reflect upon the fact that this was a moral crusade. A crusade clearly very close to his heart because of his mother, the amazing Princess Diana. Press intrusion was a very, very emotional topic for him. But when push came to the shove, the judge decided you need evidence, you need proof. Not just a smoking gun, not just the allegation, well, there have been historic wrongs, we know that, of newspaper hacking decades ago, but perhaps it was just loose-lipped contacts of Harry's that blabbed to the press for a few quid. Perhaps it wasn't phone hacking, and it clearly, in this instance, Jenny Bond, failed to meet that bar of evidential proof.
Yes, and that bar is considerably lower in a civil action than in a criminal action. So it was a relatively low bar, and he did not meet it. None of them met it. Every single article that was put before the judge was deemed to have been gathered legitimately. And yes, the implications, certainly, the indications are that the male journalists managed to befriend some of Harry's circle, his social circle in particular, and they were quite leaky, it would seem. And they gathered the information through legitimate means, just by forensic questioning of some of the friends. So that'll upset Harry, because there's one way to really get his rile up, and that is to betray his confidence, and that does seem to have been happened. You would say it was a mission for him to reform, as he saw it, the press and the media, his life's work, but he was warned by his father, according to Harry himself, that it was also a suicide mission, and I think it has turned out to be almost that. Well, not suicide, but obviously it was doomed to failure, because they just had not got the evidence.
And Jenny Bond, it did something else as well. It kind of sucked the oxygen out of Harry's other work. I mean, you know, the Invictus Games is fantastic. It's an amazing project. It always was. It always will be. But all the oxygen was sucked out of that. And dare I say, almost the route of the commoner to pursue things in the courts like this has been demeaning. It hasn't been very royal. It certainly hasn't been very regal.
No, and it's a great shame about Invictus Games. And the difficulty is that going forward, he does need the press. He needs some coverage. If he's going to do, any member of the royal family is going to do good works, and it is a very good work, the Invictus Games, he needs to get the publicity. That's why he's here. He's here to publicise the countdown to the Invictus Games. But you can see him spitting blood if he has to talk to any of the press who have humiliated him now. So he's got to find a way forward of carrying out his public works, but deploring the people who bring him the publicity. So I don't know where he's going to go from here. I can guarantee that he's a very angry man today.
Well, thank you for your time, as ever. It's a pleasure to have your company. Royal commentator there, Jenny Bond. Thank you, Jenny. Now, moving on, the Prime Minister has been speaking at the NATO summit in Turkey today, and he had a jab at Nigel Farage. Here he is.
Well, let me answer that in a number of ways. The first thing is, this is obviously the end of the NATO summit, and what President Trump said at the end of the meeting was really instructive, because all the leaders spoke in the meeting, and at the end President Trump summed up and said that he was very pleased and welcomed the spirit of the meeting and the unity of the meeting. And therefore, in terms of what's the outcome here, and answering that question, is NATO stronger and more united coming out of this summit, then the answer is yes to that. And that really was all of our main purpose. In relation to defence spending, what I would say is this, that we've now increased defence spending twice in the 2 years that I've been Prime Minister, and now we've taken it to £300 billion over 4 years. That is a record in terms of the amount being spent, and it's the biggest sustained increase for half a century. And it was telling, I think, that that was noted in the NATO meeting, where they were looking very much at the capability that the UK provides to NATO. And of course, we must never leave out of account that we make our nuclear capability is committed to all of our NATO allies, and that is highly valued as well. So actually, this has been a good summit, achieved what we wanted to achieve, which is unity. So important that we have that, particularly with the conflicts going on in Ukraine and the conflict in Iran.
Prime Minister, President Trump was quite critical of you in the UK in public. Was he different to you, therefore, in private?
Well, we've always got on as two individuals. That is important, because it really matters in politics to have a relationship that is a working relationship. I'm really mindful of the fact that the strategic alliance between the UK and the US is hugely important in defence, in relation to our defence, our security and our intelligence, where we work together 24/7. And of course, NATO is a transatlantic alliance, strengthened by both sides of that, and therefore I do think it's important for the British Prime Minister to have a good relationship with the President of the United States. I'm glad that that's what I've been able to achieve. That has been what I set out to do. I think it's really important for my country, and that's what always comes first.
And he
for me.
wished you well?
Yes, he did, and we're going to stay in touch.
Great, OK. He called today on the President Trump today called the Iranian regime a bunch of scum, said the ceasefire is over, and said it's just a waste of time dealing with them. For people back home, how worried should we be about this?
Well, the last day or two has obviously been challenging, and I think most people back at home will be wanting to see the ceasefire continue and wanting to see stability and wanting to see the Strait of Hormuz open, because that means that the impact on our economy will reduce. We've all seen the impact already on energy prices, people going to fill up at the petrol station, and the forecourt can see the impact of that. So what's really important now is, notwithstanding the challenges, that we all focus on getting back to that ceasefire, implementing the understanding, and playing our part in getting the Strait of Hormuz open, which does involve pulling together the coalition that the French and the UK are leading on in relation to reassurance. Is very important, and so that's where my focus is. I'm not going to pretend the last few days hasn't presented additional challenges. Of course it has, but it's important to keep focused on what is it we want to achieve. Back to the ceasefire, let's get the deal implemented, Strait of Hormuz open. That's really important for the region, for the world, and for every single person listening to this and watching this back in the United Kingdom, because they know that their household bills are likely going to be impacted if we don't get the situation as quickly as possible.
And Prime Minister, if I may, Nigel Farage triggered a by-election which you've called a desperate stunt. No one is standing against him apart from Count Binface at the moment. Given the chaos of reform, the difficulties Nigel Farage is in, does it frustrate you that your MPs haven't given you more time to improve Labour's standing in the polls, and they panicked about the next general election maybe too soon?
Well, let me start by saying I think Nigel Farage has been utterly exposed in this complete stunt that he was trying to set up. He's run himself into a cul-de-sac, and it was a stunt, and everybody can see that. And there's a reason for that, and that's because he's up to his neck in sleaze, and he doesn't want to answer questions about it. He doesn't want to answer your questions and questions from the media, doesn't want to answer questions in Parliament. There's a reason for that, and that's because he's got no answers whatsoever. In relation to me, obviously, there are a number of questions which my parliamentary party has been asking in relation to the question who is the best person to pick our party up after the 2019 election route.
OK, that was Sir Keir Starmer there at the NATO summit in Turkey, having a pop at Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage has been exposed. He claimed he's run himself into a cul-de-sac. He's up to his neck in sleaze and doesn't want to answer any questions. We've got some breaking news for you now, and it's this. Nigel Farage has now formally quit as the MP for Clacton after being appointed as steward and bailiff of the Manor of Northstead under the procedure used to resign from the House of Commons. But that hasn't been signed off yet, that writ. That will most likely take part at the beginning of parliamentary business tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Just to repeat, Nigel Farage has now formally quit as the Member of Parliament for Clacton after being appointed as the steward and bailiff of the Manor of Northstead under that procedure to resign from the House of Commons. Now, still to come, in return for the deportation of the paedophile Shabir Ahmed, Pakistan is outrageously demanding that Britain releases political dissidents from jail. Here's the question. Is it time to start a full-blown diplomatic and trade round with Pakistan? That's next here on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Summer-like weather, previously confined to the southern half of the UK, is now extending north with widespread sunny skies and very warm, if not hot, conditions for the rest of Wednesday, turning even hotter over the next couple of days. High pressure is extending its way in from the southwest and reaching now northern England, parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, although some weak weather fronts continue to bring a low cloud and patchy drizzle to the far northwest of the UK, and we'll see low cloud creep into western fringes of Britain overnight as well. Clear skies further east, whether you've got the clear skies or the cloud, temperatures will stay up in the mid to high teens, 20 Celsius in a few spots, so very warm night to come. Uncomfortable for sleeping. Nevertheless, it is a warm and mostly bright start to Thursday. A couple of exceptions, the north coast of Devon and Cornwall, western side of Wales, as well as the northwest of England, prone to low cloud and mistiness first thing. That will tend to lift and break, retreat back to the coast through the morning. Northern Ireland, the clouds sticking around a bit longer, and western Scotland always prone to thicker cloud here with some light rain and drizzle, but apart from the light rain and drizzle in the west of Scotland, it's dry and bright for virtually the whole of the country. Some thin layers of high cloud will start to spill in from the west across Scotland and Northern Ireland through the day, but for England and Wales, unbroken blue skies by the afternoon, and widely here, temperatures of 30 to 35 Celsius, mid to high 20s for Northern England, Southern Scotland, mid 20s for Northern Ireland, and it's looking like the thick cloud there across the far north and northwest of Scotland will keep things on the cool side, but otherwise it's another very warm night on Thursday night, leading to a hot day on Friday, temperatures reaching potentially in the hottest spots 36 Celsius before slowly cooling down through the weekend.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. There is a collision on the M5 southbound in Dudley causing slow traffic. The A34 is closed in Southampton. The A610 eastbound is closed after the M1 junction 26 near Nottingham. North of the border, the A75 eastbound exit slip at Gretna is closed with delays expected. Across Wales, the A55 westbound is closed between junction 6 at Nant Turnpike and junction 5 at Engady due to a vehicle fire. And on the trains, there is disruption on Avanti West Coast services between Crewe and Liverpool Lime Street and between Birmingham New Street and Wolverhampton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. It's 20 to 4. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, Pakistan is outrageously demanding the extradition of political dissidents in the United Kingdom in exchange for the deportation of the Rochdale rape gang leader Shabir Ahmed. Now, although Islamabad initially refused to take back the convicted rapist, the paedophile, over claims that they'd renounced their Pakistani citizenship, GB News revealed last year that a quid pro quo arrangement was being considered. Well, I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by the former MP for Rochdale, and that is Simon Danczuk. Simon, it's always a pleasure to have your company. Do you think it's just outrageous that somebody who's raped children is being released, he can't be deported, and it gets worse?
Yeah.
Now, Islamabad expects us to haul straight political prisoners in return. Why don't they just take back their garbage?
I completely agree with you. That's exactly where it should be. It should be in Pakistan. And just for your viewers' benefit, I was the MP for Rochdale from 2010 to 2017. And it was in 2012 that the Rochdale grooming scandal, rape gang scandal, broke as a news story, and he was being prosecuted. And at that time, I worked with a good number of his victims, and I met them and I helped them in various ways in terms of casework, and I know what he put his victims through. And this was an abhorrent crime. He should be deported, but we have to look at why he isn't being deported. And if you unpack that in more detail, some of it comes back to the Muslim community, the Pakistani community, and there was a view, well, two views. One, that these people shouldn't be deported. I had people when I was an MP saying to me, well, they shouldn't be deported, they might have committed crimes, but they shouldn't be deported. So that was a view in the Pakistani community in Rochdale and around. Secondly, there was also a view within the Muslim community that these perpetrators hadn't done anything wrong. They saw these girls as prostitutes, and I am in no doubt there are still people in that community that share that view. Now, the reason I mention this is that we're currently in the middle of the Greater Manchester mayoral elections. Yeah. And Labour will be concerned that they will lose votes in the Muslim Pakistani community, which is very big in Greater Manchester. They'll be concerned about losing votes. So I don't think Shabana Mahmood or other Labour politicians will be forwarding this issue, the deportation issue, forward very soon.
Simon, can I ask you another question? Shabir Ahmed was a welfare officer for Oldham Council. He was in plain sight, using it as cover. Many reports that he was also a Labour Party member. Do you think there's a possibility that people knew what he was doing? That people knew what he was doing at the time? And maybe that's part of the reason why they're not too keen now on a political expose?
Oh, I think that is a key element of what's going on here. I mean, no doubt about this. And it's not just me saying this. I mean, Professor Jay did an inquiry into the South Yorkshire Rotherham situation and quite clearly identified Labour politicians as having played a part in terms of covering it up, not uncovering the rape gang issue in the early 2000s. And then Baroness Casey did an investigation on behalf of Keir Starmer. And again, quite clearly identified Labour politicians as being a problem in terms of the rape gangs. And look at the Labour Party. I mean, they have a terrible record on this, to the point where all predominantly Labour local authorities where this activity went on, Rochdale, Oldham, Rotherham and so on, it's been a problem for Labour. And then they even opposed the National Inquiry. It tells you all you need to know about Labour and this particular issue.
We have to say, of course, that in the end that inquiry was approved. Labour Party wanted that to go ahead. But when you add all of this together, Simon, a live electoral cycle and the mayoralty, a huge lightning rod issue that's very, very divisive, but a Pakistani community who want it to go away, the survivors who are being re-traumatised by this monster living in their midst. Is it the final insult for Islamabad to say, do you know what, we'll do a deal? Yeah. It just strikes me as outrageous. They think they have any leverage.
Yeah, it is insulting to the victims, actually. The victims were assured, after the successful prosecutions in 2012, the victims were assured that these people would be deported as soon as they came out of prison. Now, that is not happening. And I would urge Labour politicians to put the politics behind them and to insist, and they can do, we have the power, we have the diplomatic power to insist that Pakistan takes this man back, and they need to get the finger out, get some action moving diplomatically and get this guy out of the country.
Simon Danczuk, thank you very much for joining us today. Of course, former MP for Rochdale. Appreciate your time as ever, sir. Thank you. Now, coming up next, change of tone. The Three Lions, of course, take on Norway in their World Cup quarter-final on Saturday night. But can they stop the big man, Erling Haaland, the Viking striking legend? Will be live in his hometown next for their thoughts. First over your search some holiday sun. Here's the forecast for some of your top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Plenty of hot sunshine across Europe at the moment, especially hot for France and Spain. Temperatures here well above average for the time of year, but continuing to be relatively showery for Greece into Turkey. Some lively thunderstorms inland, a few affecting the islands as well. Some showers popping up over Italy where it's hot, but not as hot as much of Spain, Portugal, France, where temperatures are well above average for the time of year. It stays hot through the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
And what an ambassador for Britain, for the country. He's just an amazing person. And I saw him interview this morning. He could hardly speak, could he? He was squeaking more than speaking. But it was just amazing. Every single player in that team, they made us so proud. It was fantastic to watch.
I'm just looking at your leader's Twitter feed. Nothing yet from Kevin Badenoch. We've heard from Keir Starmer. We've heard from Nigel Farage. Why doesn't Kevin Badenoch want to support the England team today?
I think she's supporting them, but I think she just felt it was the wrong. There are lots of duties she's got on today. She had a busy day again for her, but so I understand why anybody didn't watch it, because it was not a great time for watching in the middle of the night. But I know Kemi is very supportive of the England team.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Should we wind it up a bit more?
Yes.
Because we're going full mariachi on you this morning. And so, con ustedes el mejor mariachi de Paddington.
People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
She's a Russian blue. What makes Denka such a good pet?
She's very affectionate. They're very dog-like in their behaviour, very solid breed, and basically they're a pet for life, really.
Amazing. Well, Denka's been very, very well behaved here. And speaking of behaviour, Anna Webb, dog behaviouralist, joins me now. The show's been doing some research about how music affects different pets. What have they found?
Well, they found that reggae really helps calm dogs in particular. And charities like Battersea have been playing reggae in their kennels for ages, and scientists have proven that it does reduce their cortisol levels because of the 4x4 rhythm of reggae and the beats per minute that goes from 70 to 120 beats per minute. It covers all shapes and sizes of dogs, from large ones at 70 to small ones have a faster heartbeat at 120.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. It's bang on 10 to 4. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, the mighty Three Lions will, of course, face Norway this Saturday night at 10 p.m. in the quarterfinals of the World Cup as England seek to end 60 years of misery. But, however, England, of course, will have to cook up a plan to stop the Norwegian striker Erling Haaland, who scored 2 goals against the 5-time world champions Brazil in the last round. Well, GB News' national reporter Sophie Reaper joins us from Norway, the hometown, in fact, of that Viking striking legend, Erling Haaland. Sophie, I've got full-on job envy. You get all the best gigs. Over to you.
Well, Martin, it's actually a really serious mission we're on here. We're finding out all about Erling Haaland to see what the Three Lions can do to try and beat him this weekend. So we've been finding out all about him today, his sleep patterns, his eating habits, and we're here now at the Haaland hot dog stand. And you might think, surely Erling Haaland isn't eating hot dogs. Well, actually, there's a delicacy here in this part of Norway called farsa, which is actually a lot more protein. It's 100% meat. It's made locally with local ingredients. So we can go inside now, and I know you'll love this, Martin. I'm going to try one live on air for you while we speak to one of the lovely workers here, Jenny. We'll go inside now. She's very busy, so I'm hoping she can spare a word for us. Now, Jenny, is this my one that I'm looking at here? Yeah. I'm going to take a bite. We'll see what it's like. While I do that, can you tell me what it is I'm trying? Is that okay? Yeah. I'll give that to you while I tuck in. Okay. It looks fairly like a hot dog, but tell me why it's different to a normal hot dog, so I can get a bit of everything in.
It's made here, and it's not anything other than meat. It's made here.
It's actually really nice, Martin. Sorry, I've now got a mouthful of pasta. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And it's 100% meat. Do you think that's why Erling Haaland is such a huge Viking? All that protein?
Yeah, maybe.
Now, I'm just still finishing this mouthful, Martin. It's very good. Now, it's the big game this weekend. Who do you think's going to win? Norway or England?
I think it's going to be a tough match for Norway, but maybe Norway's going to beat them. I don't know.
You've got hope, maybe? Yeah. Is it Erling Haaland who gives you hope, do you think? Do you think the striking Viking might pull through for you?
Yeah. He scores all the goals.
He's going to score all the goals for you. Jenny, thank you so much for joining us. Martin, I'm going to leave it there because I'm going to go and finish. These lovely customers are waiting. I'm going to finish my delicious meal here at Erling Haaland's, the hot dog stand here. Very excited. There we go. Cheers to, well, not cheers to Norway. Sorry, everyone. Cheers to England. Apologies.
So, Reaper, absolutely magnificent. You've had a really arduous day of taking penalties, going to Chinese restaurants, going and having a hot dog. It's been more like a global buffet tour. It's meant to be a fact-finding mission of how we beat Norway. So far, all I can ascertain is that he eats like a horse, he likes Chinese food, and he likes hot dogs. Thank you very much indeed. And, of course, 10 p.m. Saturday night, that's when the fun stops and the real action begins. Now, plenty more to come in the next hour, including Nigel Farage, formerly resigned as an MP. But might there be a final twist in this Clacton by-election drama? because we found out in this past hour that Ed Davey might yet form a wrecking ball and change the writ tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. Stick with us here on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Summer-like weather previously confined to the southern half of the UK is now extending north with widespread sunny skies and very warm, if not hot conditions for the rest of Wednesday, turning even hotter over the next couple of days. High pressure is extending its way in from the southwest and reaching now northern England, parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, although some weak weather fronts continue to bring a low cloud and patchy drizzle to the far northwest of the UK, and we'll see low cloud creep into western fringes of Britain overnight as well. Clear skies further east, whether you've got the clear skies or the cloud, temperatures will stay up in the mid to high teens, 20 Celsius in a few spots, so very warm night to come. Uncomfortable for sleeping, nevertheless, it is a warm and mostly bright start to Thursday. A couple of exceptions, the north coast of Devon and Cornwall, western side of Wales, as well as the northwest of England, prone to low cloud and mistiness first thing. That will tend to lift and break, retreat back to the coast through the morning. Northern Ireland, the clouds sticking around a bit longer, and western Scotland, always prone to thicker cloud here with some light rain and drizzle. But apart from the light rain and drizzle in the west of Scotland, it's dry and bright for virtually the whole of the country. Some thin layers of high cloud will start to spill in from the west across Scotland and Northern Ireland through the day, but for England and Wales, unbroken blue skies by the afternoon, and widely here, temperatures of 30 to 35 Celsius, mid to high 20s for northern England, southern Scotland, mid 20s for Northern Ireland, and it's looking like the thick cloud there across the far north and northwest of Scotland will keep things on the cool side, but otherwise it's another very warm night on Thursday night, leading to a hot day on Friday, temperatures reaching potentially in the hottest spots 36 Celsius before slowly cooling down through the weekend.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. There is a collision on the M62 eastbound near Doncaster. The M27 eastbound in Southampton is also affected by a collision. On the M5 southbound near Dudley, traffic is slow following a collision. The A610 eastbound is closed after the M1 junction 26 near Nottingham. Across Wales, the A55 westbound is closed between junction 6 at Nant Turnpike and junction 5 at Engady following a vehicle fire. And on the trains, there is disruption on Avanti West Coast services between Crewe and Liverpool Lime Street and between Birmingham New Street and Wolverhampton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We're celebrating a golden summer with your chance to win a real gold bar. That's right, a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 could be yours. We're also going to make sure your finances are fabulous with £60,000 in tax-free cash. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
A very, very good afternoon to you. It's all sizzling here in Westminster. It's 4 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting for you until 6 p.m. We've got an action-packed show, and here's what's on today's menu.
Vote or not to vote is a choice. If you want to, you can ignore the whole thing. I said to people, we'll use the opportunity, because if we don't vote for this, we're never going to get change.
Farage has been utterly exposed in this complete stunt that he was trying to set up.
Yeah, breaking news in this past hour. The Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has now formally resigned as the Member of Parliament for Clacton, paving the way for an almighty by-election after some members of the establishment tried to derail and stop it. Could this be the by-election of the century? And yet, may the Lib Dems try and hijack it? GB News will be there for you, giving you unparalleled, exclusive insight throughout the rest of the day.
To complain about his privacy being invaded takes not just the biscuit, but the whole tin.
Yes, after Prince Harry's royal drubbing in the High Court, might the fallen prince now be facing an eye-watering £50 million legal bill? And might that leave one royally broke? We'll have all the latest on Harry's High Court drubbing. And a damning new report published today suggests that 28% of Brits believe that Muslims cannot integrate into British society, and 61% believe the country's national identity is disappearing due to diversity. Here's the question: has the multicultural dream turned into a nightmare? And in return for the deportation of the paedophile Shabir Ahmed, Pakistan is outrageously demanding that Britain releases political dissidents from jail. Here's the question: is it time to show Pakistan who's boss, reject their demands, freeze all visas, freeze all foreign aid, and have a full-blown diplomatic and trade war until they take back the Rochdale rape gang monster? And that's all coming up in your next hour. It's all heating up in Clacton, down there on the coast, the epicentre of the by-election of the century. Lee Anderson, the chairman of Reform UK, told GB News earlier that his political opponents are cowards. Are they frit of the writ? He says they won't even field an opponent. Of course, Rachel Reeves has to sign off that writ, and we're waiting on that decision tomorrow morning. But that could still be derailed. The leader of the Liberal Democrat Party, Ed Davey, told us an hour ago the Liberal Democrats yet might try and split, have a division, and stop this going ahead, force a debate, delay the by-election for 6 months. They want the commission, the Standards Commission, to find before the election is allowed to go ahead. Could there yet still be more high drama? Could the establishment yet still be against Nigel Farage to prevent that election there in Clacton from happening? Get in touch usual ways. GBnews.com/your say is the way to do so. Or scan the QR code on your screens now. But now it's time for your headlines, and here's Katie Bowen.
My
Martin, thank you and good afternoon. The headlines at 4:03. Sir Keir Starmer has defended his record both as Labour Party leader and on defence spending at the conclusion of the NATO summit in Ankara, saying the conference achieved unity. The Prime Minister called for a focus on getting back to a ceasefire in the Middle East after recent days had posed additional challenges in the region. At his final international conference before stepping down as Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer went on to comment on the UK-US relationship, describing it as a strategic alliance, saying he is glad he's been able to achieve a good relationship with President Trump.
Obviously, there are a number of questions which my parliamentary party has been asking in relation to the question who is the best person to pick our party up after the 2019 election, root out anti-Semitism, make us face the country and change the Labour Party. That question's been answered as to who should lead us through that. Who is the right person to lead us to a general election victory, a landslide victory? That question has been answered. Landslide Labour election victories don't come very often. There's only been 3 in the history of the Labour Party, and I delivered one of them. The question the parliamentary party now is asking is who's the best person to lead us into the next election? They've answered that question. I accept that answer in good grace.
Well, to the Middle East, US President Donald Trump said that the US will probably hit Iran again tonight. It comes following his earlier comments declaring the ceasefire with the country over, adding he didn't want to deal with them anymore.
So we hit him very hard last night, very, very hard. Probably hit him hard again tonight. I'll give him a little warning, we're going to hit him hard tonight. But we'll see how it all works out. No, I'm not happy with them.
The president went on to say that the US may take over Karg Island and threatened to put the blockade back in place. Overnight, Iran had said it targeted American military sites in Bahrain and Kuwait in response to US strikes on dozens of Iranian targets. US Central Command said late last night it hit more than 80 targets. A father suspected of murdering his wife and 2 daughters is thought to have left the UK for Zimbabwe. Nothabo Zandile, Natalie and Nala Schumer were found dead in a detached house near Bedford after concerns were raised on Monday that they'd not been seen for several days. Bedfordshire police believe they were murdered and a suspect has been identified as 45-year-old Ndonda Schumer, who goes by the name of Mark. The force has issued a CCTV image of Schumer, a British citizen of Zimbabwean heritage, who's believed to have left the country from Heathrow Airport on a British passport on Saturday. In other news, Nigel Farage has now formally quit as the MP for Clacton after being appointed as steward and bailiff of the Manor of Northstead under the procedure used to resign from the House of Commons. This afternoon, Chancellor Rachel Reeves said she would agree to Mr Farage's request to quit as an MP so he can, quote, spend the summer arguing with a bin. That's as the Liberal Democrats have called on her to block the process, saying Mr Farage should not be allowed to quit until a parliamentary investigation into undeclared donations had concluded. And the King has accepted the government's advice to grant Ruth Ellis, the last woman to be executed in the United Kingdom, a conditional pardon, Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy has said. Ruth Ellis was executed on July the 13th in 1955 after being convicted of murdering David Blackley. Last year, her grandchildren called for a posthumous pardon, saying she was physically and emotionally abused by her partner before she killed him. David Lammy added that he hopes the decision brings some peace to her family.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.34 and €1.17. The price of gold is £3,046 per ounce and the FTSE 100's at 10,554 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Thank you, Katie. Now, it's all heating up, of course, over the Clacton by-election, and the story has moved on. Breaking news from the past hour, Nigel Farage has now formally quit as the MP for Clacton. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, confirmed that she has agreed to his request, adding, if he wants to spend the summer arguing with a bin, then I won't stop him. But, you know, Rachel Reeves, you could put a candidate up. That could happen. All the other parties could put a candidate up. It's OK to say you're going to stop him arguing with a bin. How about arguing with a Labour Party candidate, a Tory Party candidate, a Liberal Democrat, a Green, a Restore Party candidate? No, None of them want to stand. Rachel Reeves has added, if he wants to spend the summer arguing the bin, I won't stop him. The Reform UK leader announced he would quit to stand in a by-election in his seat in what he dubbed a people versus the establishment fight. Well, let's now speak with our political editor, Chris Hope, who joins me in the studio in Westminster. Chris, it's sizzling on the streets of Westminster, but the political temperature is off the barometer, and now it's getting more and more dramatic. Rachel Reeves, we understand, has now formally accepted the desire of Farage to resign. That got all but green lights his by-election. That hasn't happened yet, and there could yet still be a final piece of drama. Ed Davey wants to derail it.
Yes. Well, let's break that down. So let's start with what's happening in the politics. Yesterday, Nigel Farage said he will resign as MP for Clacton. No other party will stand against him apart from a novelty candidate called Count Binface. We've reached out to Count Binface to talk to GB News. He hasn't responded to our messages. A second candidate could be Lawrence Fox, a former presenter on this channel. He, of course, runs a party called the Reclaim Party. So those two could be the candidates against Nigel Farage in Clacton. Keir Starmer is away at the NATO summit in Ankara, but all these leaders have been lining up to attack Nigel Farage. First it's been Kevin Badenoch, and now most recently the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. Here's what he told us earlier.
Farage has been utterly exposed in this complete stunt that he was trying to set up. He's run himself into a cul-de-sac, and it was a stunt, and everybody can see that. And there's a reason for that, and that's because he's up to his neck in sleaze, and he doesn't want to answer questions about it. He doesn't want to answer your questions, questions from the media, doesn't want to answer questions in Parliament. There's a reason for that, and that's because he's got no answers whatsoever.
OK, so he calls it a stunt. It is a stunt to a degree, resigning as an MP when you don't have to. But I just wonder how it looks, really, for the establishment parties to say they want to kick Farage out of politics, and then when they get the chance, not to take up the opportunity. What will the ordinary person in the street, who frankly doesn't breathe the hot air of Westminster, wonder about that, Martin?
And I wonder, actually, if the Prime Minister now, but not for long, Keir Starmer, at another summit. Here's a man with more summits than the Himalayas.
Well, he's got to go. Martin, he's got to go to the NATO summit. That's by keeping us safe.
Well, enjoy them while you can, because soon there'll be no more summits for Keir Starmer. It'll be a mere backbench parliamentarian. I digress. Don't you think that when he starts saying he's up to his neck in sleaze, this is a man who was practically up to his neck in sleaze, Free Gear Keir, right from the word go. The Mandelson scandal, the vetting. No, this Parliament's been up to its neck in sleaze. They promised to reverse that, to end it.
That's right, you could say
rich, is it not?
Well, you could say Farage's response is to say, OK, let's see if the voters want me to be an MP. That's almost the ultimate way to validate your position in Parliament, to say, OK, by-election. And then no one stands against him. I also think there's a problem here for Andy Burnham. He's likely to be made the Labour leader next Friday. He'll become the Prime Minister almost certainly the following Monday, without any vote of anyone in the country, even members. Only the 20 or 30,000 or so who voted for him in Makerfield, they will vote for him, but no one else will. Now, who's running away from the electorate? Farage is walking towards the electorate and having that, and putting himself, his career at risk, although he should get back in, his career at risk. There's a chance, by the way, that if there's a single candidate against Nigel Farage, he could be beaten, even by someone called Count Binface. The Lib Dems, Ed Davey, they're trying to frustrate it. They were looking at amending the moment when the writ is being moved in the House of Commons, probably tomorrow morning, to delay this by-election until after the investigation by the Standards Commissioner. That now cannot happen because it's been granted by Rachel Reeves in the past hour. That can't happen. But the Lib Dems will tomorrow morning attempt to amend the motion to allow this investigation to carry on and not be delayed until he gets back into Parliament. But here's what Ed Davey told me earlier.
Writ is moved by Mr Anderson tomorrow. We are going to try to amend it if we're able to, because we want to make sure the investigation into Mr Farage's alleged breaches or serious breaches of the rules, that can continue. Because the problem we see is he's trying to escape justice, he's trying to escape scrutiny, and this is his method, and I think that's wrong. So our proposal, if we can amend the motion tomorrow, wouldn't stop the by-election, but it would make sure that the investigation into these allegations continues.
That's right, David, talking to me an hour ago on your show. So shenanigans in Westminster. That won't affect the fact that the by-election will be held probably on Thursday, August the 13th.
I've got a question for you, and you put it in part to David there. You asked him, will Nigel Farage get a fair hearing from the Standards Commission? Or your phrase you used, might it be a kangaroo court? Now, kangaroo court was a phrase that you coined in the trial, if you like, of Boris Johnson on his way out. Many people felt he didn't get a fair trial because the committee was stacked with parliamentarians that didn't agree with him. I wonder if... There seems to be a lot of politicians out there, Kemi Badenoch, Ed Davey, who seem to place all their faith in this committee, finding against Nigel Farage, almost preempting its resolution before we know it. And they've all said, once that comes out, we will stand. I wonder if that is a chicken story. They all know if they stood on paper, they would get annihilated by Nigel Farage in Clacton. The scores on the doors, we went through all this yesterday. Nobody has a single chance of actually beating Farage in a toe-to-toe scrap. So is this all smoke and mirrors? They're frit of the writ. They don't want to go toe-to-toe in Clacton. They're hiding behind this bin face. They're hiding behind the committee. The true story is they're all chicken.
Well, certainly they don't want to fight him in this by-election. I mean, I should say it was supporters of Boris Johnson, which I was reporting the Telegraph at the time, called it a kangaroo court. They called it that because if you looked at some of the twittering or the tweets or the social media messages by members of that privileged committee, they have been highly critical of Boris Johnson. Now, if you have it really is a judge and jury of MPs. That's how it works. The MPs have a hearing into the behaviour of other MPs in the House of Commons, and that's why it matters. If you are on a jury, you'll be asked when you're selected, have you ever talked about this person in public, give a view? So they don't want to make sure it's a clean skin, as it were, before giving evidence or assessing evidence. I haven't looked at the background of the members of the Privilege Committee. I'm sure others will. And it's worth noting that, and it may be that given what's being said by the party leaders, talking about a second by-election before the first one's been held, that's almost assuming the guilt of Nigel Farage, which MPs shouldn't really do. If you believe in the system that works there, MPs sitting in judgment on each other, that should be allowed to take place without second-guessing the result of those deliberations.
Chris Hope, I think you raise an excellent point and one worthy of a further probe. And I might be doing that later on.
You're teasing me, Martin Daubney.
GB News tonight at 7 o'clock. We might look into this in a bit more detail. Chris, thank you very much indeed. Stick with us. I'd like to be joined by my next guest now, and that's the former Conservative MP for Don Valley, Nick Fletcher. Nick, how the devil are you? It's a pleasure to have you on the show. I want to ask you a simple question. Everybody seems to be saying that Nigel Farage is chicken. He's scared. He's running. How can a man who's calling a by-election and facing the music be scared? And second point to you, Clacton used to be a very safe Conservative seat. It isn't anymore. Nigel Farage has made it the 7th safest seat in the United Kingdom. Surely the Conservatives, if you want to knock Farage out, stand, take him on, go toe-to-toe. Is it you who's chicken?
I don't like this language, to be fair. I think it's a little bit childish, this chicken this and chicken that. And I think what Farage said yesterday, saying sticking 2 fingers up to the establishment, I don't think that's very parliamentary language either. I think it is all a farce. I can understand the frustration of Nigel Farage. I understand where he's coming from with lots of different aspects of how the media treat him and such like. But at the end of the day, it does look to the common person out there that he has run away from this Parliamentary Standards Committee. And in all fairness, it's going to take place anyway. So I do not know what he's gaining. The only thing I can suggest or think that he might gain is that you're obviously meant to declare all of your financial dealings 12 months prior to being elected, and obviously if he's elected again over the last 2 years, everything will have been accounted for. So it is a farce. I understand why Kemi is not putting up there. Obviously, like you've said, is bound to win. It's costing the taxpayer £230,000. People need to remember that. That's £230,000 of your taxes or my taxes that are just being wasted on this charade. He is going to get elected again, and he's going back to square one. He's going to end up in front of the Parliamentary Standards Committee. So it's just a bit of a game, and I think the public are sick of it. We had it all at Makerfield as well. Nobody asked for a by-election there. We've got it all again this time. I think everybody in Parliament needs to get their heads banged together and try and get this country back on the straight and narrow.
Well, Conservatives have thrown by-elections before. David Davis, of course, famously did that.
I heard about that, yes, but it wasn't to avoid Parliamentary Standards Committee. That's what this...
But Nick, you're like saying it's a waste of time, it's a waste of money, so all those things still apply. But look, I want to rewind a moment. I want to ask you about the committee, the Standards Committee. Everybody, I think including Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative Party leader, seems to have preordained the outcome. They seem convinced that this will find against Nigel Farage. Now, as Chris Hope just said, that's not cricket. You know, want to wait for that to do its job before more or less saying we will stand in that second by-election after the committee finds. Well, that goes against everything that is to be British, the presumption of innocence before a court. This isn't a court, it's a committee. So I think that's out of order. Secondly, having seen your former boss, Boris Johnson, you know, go through a court that was described by many as a kangaroo court, the Privileges Committee, are you convinced that these self-appointed committees, stuffed full of parliamentarians, who many of whom don't like Nigel Farage, have disagreed with him publicly many times in the past, are you convinced it's even possible for Nigel Farage to get a fair hearing?
No, I think it's very difficult. As I say, it's we're being judged by other parliamentarians, but they're obviously of other parties. And so it's very difficult to rise above that party level, and I'm pretty sure lots of people don't. The argument is if you brought in people from the outside who don't really understand what it's like to be a member of Parliament and how that actual job works. So maybe his arguments before, we ought to bring some people in from the outside and parliamentarians as well.
So you are saying that if people are from political parties, which they are on this committee, who don't agree with Nigel Farage, it won't be a fair hearing. It's almost
it can be very difficult.
It's a kangaroo court. Maybe that's why Nigel Farage has called the by-election early, because he thinks, what's the point getting stuffed by a committee that's already made its mind up?
But he's going to end up in front of the parliamentary committee anyway. When he wins this seat, if he wins this seat and Binface doesn't win this seat instead of him, then he's going to end up in front of it anyway. So it's not actually doing anything at all, is it? It's just costing the taxpayer £230,000. Clacton's not got an MP at this moment in time. Granted, we're coming into summer recess, but there's 6 weeks there without an MP. And as I say, it's just the perception of what's going off in Westminster and what's going off in this country is terrible. We look terrible on a world stage, and we look terrible actually to our own people who are literally putting their faith in these people, 650 MPs, to try and steer this country in the right direction. Now, it might be a socialist direction, it might be a capitalist direction, but at least trying to steer it somewhere. And this, I'm afraid, it's just, as I say, it's just a charade.
But then for decades, people have been telling parliamentarians to do their job, to do what you're told, control borders, lower taxes. It didn't happen. Yeah. It didn't happen. The disconnect between the public and the parliamentarians, I think, has never been greater. But Nick, sorry, we have to leave it there. Nick Fletcher, been told we must move on. But thank you, as ever, for your generous time. Thank you indeed. And thank you to you, Chris Hope. Now, still to come, in return for the deportation of the paedophile Shabir Ahmed, Pakistan is outrageously demanding that Britain releases political dissidents from jail. Is it time to dig in? Let's start a full-blown diplomatic and trade war with Pakistan. And also next, after Prince Harry's royal drubbing in the High Court, might the fallen prince now be facing a royal legal bill of £50 million? We'll have all the latest on Prince Harry's High Court drubbing. That's next here on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel. At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome back. Time is 4:25. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here at GB News. Now, on a week of huge political drama, tune in to State of the Nation at 8 p.m. this evening, when Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg will be sitting down with the former Prime Minister Liz Truss for her reaction to Nigel Farage's resignation. You will not want to miss it. Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg meets Liz Truss here and on GB News at 8 p.m. on State of the Nation. Now, moving on, Prince Harry has dramatically lost his privacy case against the Daily Mail's publisher, Associated Newspapers Limited. Now, the judge said, although the allegations were serious, the claimants needed more convincing evidence before they could be proven as true. Now, let's speak with the royal editor of The Telegraph, and that's Hannah Furness. Hannah, a pleasure to have your company. Let's face it, this was a right royal disaster for Prince Harry, and the basic point came to this. There was no proof. This is a moral crusade that lacks the evidential burden. Prince Harry has been totally embarrassed.
I think that is fair to say, yes. Over 436 pages of a very long, very considered, very detailed legal ruling that was handed down yesterday, just as Prince Harry stepped out in public for his big return to Britain. This is exactly what he did not want to happen. It's difficult for him. He looked devastated yesterday until he rallied to release this statement. I think he and a lot of other people, including us commentators in the media, thought that he probably would win at least one claim and that he would be able to claim some sort of glorious victory and spin it as this dragon-slaying Prince Harry crusade. In the event, there were 97 claims. They lost all of them.
And it's a damning indictment, Hannah. And I wonder if this moral crusade is clearly very, very close to the heart of Prince Harry. We can never forget, of course, what happened to his mother, the late Diana, in terms of being harassed by the paparazzi. It's clearly hugely close to his heart. But there are now 50 million reasons you might regret that, because we're looking at dividing the costs, his own costs, Associated Newspapers costs. I think we find out, am I correct in saying, on the 29th and the 30th of July, who pays what. And it could be a massive bill for Prince Harry.
It could. Let's not forget he's one of 7 claimants here. We don't know who's been funding the case exactly. It may be that there is an imbalance between those claimants and who is paying. It may be that there's a generous benefactor behind the scenes somewhere. £50 million is the figure that is being repeated, the £50 million question. It doesn't necessarily mean that that is the amount that will be paid in the end. The judge has already signalled that he thinks that these costs are wildly excessive and has put a limit on them. So we will learn all of this towards the end of the month, as you say. You were totally right in saying before that this is a massively emotional issue for Prince Harry. It's very personal. The crux of this case for him is this idea that his friends and his family and his sources around him, his associates, couldn't possibly have been telling journalists any information about his life because they were loyal to him. His argument was that it must have come through some unlawful practices of Daily Mail journalists. The judge has found that this isn't the case, and that's a huge blow to Prince Harry, who wants to protect himself, his wife, his children. He sees himself as protecting other members of the public who don't have the resources he has and can't afford to go to court. He wanted to deal some sort of blow against the British tabloid press. So it's financial and it is emotional.
And Hannah, that smoking gun, because of course, in terms of legacy, there were great wrongs committed by newspapers in terms of that culture of hacking. But a culture of history doesn't directly say that it's happening now or happened to him. Do you think, Hannah, the Furness, the hardest blow for Harry to take, apart from the cost and the defeat, is just the fact that perhaps he's been betrayed by his friends who took grubby money and gave stories away in the old-fashioned way?
Well, I think first and foremost, he doesn't believe that. You will see from the statement last night, he's called the findings a complete and utter whitewash. He hasn't come to terms yet with what the judge believes to be true and has ruled to be true. That may be something he sits with. This may be time for him to pause, take a step back, think about his life, his future. We'll wait and see. It seems to me that he's come out fighting.
OK, thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate it. That's the royal editor of The Telegraph, Hannah Furness. Thank you very much indeed. Now, still to come, in return for the deportation of the paedophile Shabir Ahmed, Pakistan is outrageously demanding that Britain releases political dissidents from jail in return. Here's the question. Is it time to show Pakistan who's boss, to reject their demands and instead start a full-blown diplomatic and trade row and a war with Pakistan? That's next here on GB News. But first, is your latest news headlines with Katie Bowen.
Martin, thank you. The headlines at 4:30. Speaking at the NATO summit, US President Donald Trump said that the US will probably hit Iran again tonight. The president went on to say that the US may take over Karg Island and also said that he could put the blockade back in place.
So we hit him very hard last night. Very, very. I'll probably hit him hard again tonight. I'll give him a little warning. We're going to hit him hard tonight. But we'll see how it all works out. No, I'm not happy with them.
Elsewhere, Nigel Farage has now formally quit as the MP for Clacton after being appointed as steward and bailiff of the Manor of Northstead under the procedure used to resign from the House of Commons. Elsewhere, the King has accepted the government's advice to grant Ruth Ellis, the last woman to be executed in the United Kingdom, a conditional pardon. She was executed on the 13th of July 1955 after being convicted of murdering David Blakely. Last year, her grandchildren called for a posthumous pardon, saying she was physically and emotionally abused by her partner before she killed him. And amber and yellow heat health alerts are in place across England as the UK braces for one of the longest lasting heat waves since 1976. Those are your latest GB News headlines. More news at 5 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Summer-like weather, previously confined to the southern half of the UK, is now extending north with widespread sunny skies and very warm, if not hot conditions for the rest of Wednesday, turning even hotter over the next couple of days. High pressure is extending its way in from the southwest and reaching now northern England, parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, although some weak weather fronts continue to bring a low cloud and patchy drizzle to the far northwest of the UK, and we'll see low cloud creep into western fringes of Britain overnight as well. Clear skies further east, whether you've got the clear skies or the cloud, temperatures will stay up in the mid to high teens, 20 Celsius in a few spots, so very warm night to come. Uncomfortable for sleeping. Nevertheless, it is a warm and mostly bright start to Thursday. A couple of exceptions, the north coast of Devon and Cornwall, western side of Wales, as well as the northwest of England, prone to low cloud and mistiness first thing. That will tend to lift and break, retreat back to the coast through the morning. Northern Ireland, the clouds sticking around a bit longer, and western Scotland, always prone to thicker cloud here with some light rain and drizzle. But apart from the light rain and drizzle in the west of Scotland, it's dry and bright for virtually the whole of the country. Some thin layers of high cloud will start to spill in from the west across Scotland and Northern Ireland through the day, but for England and Wales, unbroken blue skies by the afternoon, and widely here, temperatures of 30 to 35 Celsius, mid to high 20s for northern England, southern Scotland, mid 20s for Northern Ireland, and it's looking like the thick cloud there across the far north and northwest of Scotland will keep things on the cool side, but otherwise it's another very warm night on Thursday night, leading to a hot day on Friday, temperatures reaching potentially in the hottest spots 36 Celsius before slowly cooling down through the weekend.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. There is a collision on the M56 eastbound in Trafford causing slow traffic. The M1 northbound is affected by a reported collision. In Scotland, the A75 eastbound exit slip at Gretna is closed due to roadworks. Across Wales, the A55 westbound is closed between Junction 6 at Nant Turnpike and Junction 5 at Engady near Rosenegger due to a vehicle fire. And on the trains, there is disruption on Avanti West Coast services between Crewe and Liverpool Lime Street and between Birmingham New Street and Wolverhampton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Well, welcome back. It is 4:35 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Time now for the Great British Giveaway and your chance to win £60,000 in tax-free moolah and a real gold bar worth over £5,000. Rachel Reeves won't get a penny of it. It's tax-free. Here's the details you need to enter.
We're celebrating a golden summer with your chance to win a real gold bar. That's right, a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 could be yours. That's gold that you could keep, trade in, or gift to a loved one to secure their financial future. We're also going to make sure your finances are fabulous with £60,000 in tax-free cash that you can spend on anything you like. And because it's tax-free, every single penny of it will be yours. So don't miss out. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck with that. Now then, Pakistan is demanding the extradition of political dissidents, prisoners in the UK in exchange for the deportation of the Rochdale rape gang leader Shabir Ahmed. Now, although Islamabad initially refused to take back the convicted paedophile over claims that they'd renounced his Pakistani citizenship, GB News revealed last year that a quid pro quo arrangement was being considered. Well, let's now speak with the criminal defence solicitor Marcus Marcus Johnson. Marcus, always a pleasure to have your company. It would just seem outrageous to our viewers and utterly loathsome to the survivors of this sick paedophile that Islamabad is even countenancing the issue of making demands for his return.
It is, Martin. I think both sides, the UK government and the Pakistani government, know what's at stake here. This case is just one that happens to have come to the media's attention. There are several cases the same as this that have gone on in the past where Pakistani convicted criminals have so-called renounced their citizenship to stay in the UK and have been allowed to do so far. This is one of many that have come to fruition. There's going to be many more. I mean, we've talked about grooming gangs and the various scandals that are going on. Many have yet to be uncovered. So I think both sides know what's going to happen in the future. We're going to get many more men like Shabir Ahmed. And what do we do with them? Because they're going to be released. They're using the Immigration Act loophole to avoid deportation, so-called, tearing up passports and so on, which is a nonsense in my view. That doesn't renounce your citizenship. There's a lot more on that we could go on to. But I think the Pakistani government is certainly playing, it's a game that they are playing, and they're playing to win. We don't, I think, in my view, we don't need Pakistani trade. Pakistan is about 1/3 of total UK trade, the 45th largest trading partner for the UK. I think Pakistan gains more from trade and from relations with the UK than vice versa. But there are many, 1.6 million Pakistanis living in the UK. We have a massive problem with the sex offenders, which seem to be largely from Pakistan and Afghanistan. It's certainly the major crimes that are being committed, the sex crimes being committed, are coming from that area. And when they are being released, what do we do with them? Because they're being released back into the communities from where they committed these horrendous crimes. And these are they're not minor crimes. It's not a £5 box of chocolates from Marks and Spencer's. We're talking about systematic abuse over many years of the most serious sexual crimes against the most vulnerable children. And Pakistan is saying, and reading the article from the Telegraph, the comments that Pakistani government is saying seems remarkable. They're talking about they want to deal with issues that matter, as though this doesn't matter to them. They're talking about the UK knows what our demands are, is a quote that's come from them. And it talks about, which I find very upsetting, many of you viewers will, that those who want the return of Ahmed to Pakistan have a colonial mindset. It is very insulting what the Pakistani authorities are saying and how they're dealing with this matter. And the UK government certainly needs to get to grips with this. It's gone on for a long time. I mean, it's almost laughable what Shabir Mahmood is talking about now. And it's, again, so frustrating. We know that there's been negotiations on this one case for, I think, over a year with the Pakistani government. We know there's been problems with the Immigration Act for years because this has happened before, and it's still not been sorted out. And it probably would never get sorted out had it not been for this case an embarrassment to the government.
Marcus Johnson, I wonder if there's more to this than meets the eye politically as well. Simon Danzig was in earlier on. He's the former MP for Rochdale, and he intimated that monsters like Shabir Ahmed, who you and I both know worked as a welfare officer for Oldham Council, Labour Control Council, multiple reports. He was well known as a Labour Party member. This is not only a scandal of a paedophile being released, it goes back to what could be a huge political scandal. And I wonder if the reluctance of the British government to play hardball with Islamabad is because perhaps there are some desperate truths in there that nobody ever wants to come out.
There's no doubt about that, in my view, Martin. There are things that have gone on in the past that the authorities do not want people to know about. And I've been involved with grooming gangs for quite some time, for many years now, probably going back the last 20 years. I've dealt with police officers, probation officers, court officials, prosecution lawyers, you name it. They all know the problem that's been going on, and yet it's been covered up. Police officers have told me they've had instructions from higher up the chain to turn a blind eye, not to do anything about it. So we know there is a massive problem. Thousands and thousands of children are being abused by these grooming gangs. If it comes to light, if with the various inquiries and reports, we do start to uncover and we do find the real truth behind all of this, there will be thousands of prosecutions. There will be so many, because none of those people have been caught yet. They've just not been caught. They've not been prosecuted. People have turned a blind eye. So yes, there's going to be a lot of more criminals that we're going to find out, but there's also government officials, police officers, politicians that have known about this, and I dare say it's been covered up. So it is something that I think the authorities would rather it go away quietly than not. It's going to be embarrassing to so many people.
Marcus, can I just interject, because we've got a dramatic breaking news line here. I'd like to get a reaction to it, and it's this. We are hearing, it's being reported in the Telegraph, that Shabana Mahmood is set to change the law so that the Pakistani-born ringleader of the Rothschild grooming gang, Shabir Ahmed, can be deported. We're hearing here on Monday, the Home Secretary is expected to explain how the government will amend the 1971 Immigration Act, which prevents Shabir Ahmed at present from being deported. Marcus Johnson, what's your immediate reaction to that? We were told many times that we couldn't change the law retrospectively. It was set in stone. Now it appears there is some wiggle room. You might say, hurrah! What took them so long?
Yes, well, I mean, I was on with one of your colleagues last week, and my view is that, yes, the law can be changed. It should be changed. What the concern was is about making something a crime retrospectively. It's going back a number of years, 20, 30 years, and saying, oh, we're now going to treat the conduct from 30 years ago as a criminal offence. So people could now be criminalised for something that wasn't a crime when they did that conduct. That would clearly be unfair. What we're talking about here is somebody who was convicted correctly under that law. The question of deportation is a deportation and a public protection matter. It's not a further criminal sanction. It's not a further punishment. So if we accept, whether we accept that he's committed and he's served his time, I mean, 14 years out of a total 40-year sentence, 40 years of some of them are consecutive, but he only serves 20-odd years, released after that short period of time. But he's then served that punishment. The question of deportation is now a public protection issue. And if we then talk about human rights, my concern is that this government and the previous government has a fixation with human rights for criminals, not for victims. We're talking about Shabir Ahmed's human rights, that he shouldn't be sent back because he might be tortured, or his respect for his private and family life because he spent so many years in the UK. Well, what about the victims? What about all the 12 and 14-year-old children that were abused by him, systematically raped by him over years and years, and all his gang members? What about their human rights? What about their protection and respect for their private life? What about their right not to be tortured like they were tortured? We seem to have lost sight of all of that. And all we're concerned about is, well, what about the human rights of the criminals? We've got the whole thing upside down. So I do hope Shabana Mahmood gets this sorted out, and hopefully he will be deported.
OK, Marcus Johnson, thank you as ever for joining us. Thanks for your expertise. Thanks for your passion. Criminal defence solicitor there, Marcus Johnson. Thank you very much indeed. Reacting there to that breaking news story, we are hearing sources telling us in the Telegraph, Shabana Mahmood set to review the law, to change the law so we can finally deport Pakistani paedophile Shabir Ahmed. And more reactions to that story first. If you're in search of some holiday sun, though, here is the forecast of some of your top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Plenty of hot sunshine across Europe at the moment, especially hot for France and Spain. Temperatures here well above average for the time of year, but continuing to be relatively showery for Greece into Turkey. Some lively thunderstorms inland, a few affecting the islands as well. Some showers popping up over Italy where it's hot, but not as hot as much of Spain, Portugal, France, where temperatures are well above average for the time of year. It stays hot through the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
The completion of the challenge, the Princess of Wales was met by her family, including the Prince of Wales and her 3 children.
Lovely. All right, let's talk to former Royal Butler Grant Harold. Grant, honestly, that little video there just seemed to say it all to me, because it was clearly all just off the cuff, not a prepared speech. She just came across as someone who really cares about what she does.
She does, and I mean, she's remarkable because, as you said, it was just suddenly announced last night that she'd done this. And not that I'm a huge expert in this, but it's quite a challenge. I actually know somebody that did it recently. I mean, I think you've got to walk about 23, 24 miles. You're climbing about up to, is it 9,000 feet? You're travelling over 500 miles. It's 3 highest peaks in the UK, Scotland, England, and Wales. I mean, it's a remarkable achievement.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
In his 23 years of service, Alan was deployed to a number of conflicts, including the Gulf War. He met his wife Tracy Ann when he returned to civilian life, and Alan is proud of his time in the forces.
The actual Gulf War, it was during this Scud missile sort of crisis, if you like, and I found that quite worrying because it was so random. If somebody points a rifle at you and intends to kill you, that's one thing. But these missiles were just fired into nowhere. One of the camps got hit. A lot of US servicemen got killed. And RAF regiment fellas went in to help. And the effects of war are clearly not nice. But if it was done for the right reasons, it had to be done.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
No, Cameron, so it's the first monarch ever to do this, then, isn't it? What's your take on what we've seen in the data here?
Well, Patrick, for GB News audiences, I spent 5 hours in financial briefings with all of these documents, so you don't have to go through them all, and we've assimilated them with my producer, Tom, this afternoon and evening for you. As you said, Patrick, at the start of your piece there, I think a lot of our audience are probably going to be wondering why £370 million, roughly, of their money is being spent on resurfacing a building, Buckingham Palace, which no monarch is unlikely to ever live in ever again. The money that the king surrenders the profits of from the Crown Estates to the Treasury in exchange for a percentage to fund the official duties, that percentage for almost a decade has been much higher.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. 10 to 5, breaking news. Chris Hope, over to your by-election, Clacton. The date's been set.
We have a date here now, Martin. It's earlier than I thought. I thought it'd be the 13th of August, but we are now told by Reform UK they'll remove the writ tomorrow morning. They will set the clock ticking on the Clacton by-election. August the 6th is the date, Martin. Nigel Farage versus Count Binface, maybe Lawrence Fox. Those are the 3 candidates we think will be standing.
A short by-election window is always desirable from a candidate who thinks they've got a very good chance of winning. Andy Burnham went 4 weeks at Makerfield. I always thought they'd go 4 weeks here with a full ticket. It's not a full ticket. Nevertheless, 4 weeks, a short Purdah period.
And we'll get other dates on when candidates can declare themselves by. This is not without risk for Nigel Farage, I should say, because if there's a single candidate, let's say it is Andy Burnham, if it is Count Binface, if everyone, all the opponents to Nigel Farage go behind Count Binface, it could be a problem for Nigel Farage. It's not completely clear he wins it hands down.
OK, thank you very much, Chris. We'll have more of you at the top of the next hour. Let's quickly move on, because we've heard in the last few moments again, Shabana Mahmood is now set to change the law, she claims, so the Pakistani paedophile Shabir Ahmed, the Rochdale rape gang ringleader, can be deported. We're hearing on Monday the Home Secretary is expected to explain how the government will amend the 1971 Immigration Act, which prevents Shabir Ahmed presently from being deported. Let's now speak with the international security and border control expert, Henry Bolton. Henry, they told us the law couldn't be changed, but after a massive backlash, suddenly they can.
Martin, if the political will is there in the government and there's the strength of opinion in the House of Commons, in Parliament, then just about any law can be changed. So it's a matter of political will. And I've said this all along. There is absolutely, it is entirely unacceptable that anyone is roaming our streets having been convicted of such heinous crimes, quite clearly a risk to public safety. It's absolutely unbelievable that we've had governments who've been allowing these people to walk the streets. They need to be gone. If they're foreign national offenders, when they walk out of jail, they should be walking onto an aeroplane to leave the country. That's it. No ifs, no buts. And frankly, anybody who's here on their ticket should be going as well.
And yet, Henry Bolton, we seem to have a government that's had to be dragged into all of this. Yep. They've been dragged into changing the law here. They seem to be dragged into the rape gang inquiry. They've taken an awful lot of convincing to do what's obviously correct.
Yeah, I think they have this rather perverse attitude, Martin, that if the offender commits a crime, abuses somebody else's human rights, as you had the earlier speaker talking about, about that, that's the responsibility of the offender, then they've served their time. What happens then is up to the government. And if the offender then suffers, we deport the individual, as we damn well should, and he suffers as a result, then the onus is on the government. No, the onus on the government is to make damn sure that everybody going about their lives innocently and peacefully in the United Kingdom is safe to do so. And any risk that is permitted by any government that undermines that, then I'm sorry, that government is not worthy of the name.
OK, Henry Bolton, superbly put. Thank you for your time, as ever. Now, don't go anywhere, because plenty more still to come, including we now have the date set, August the 6th, for the by-election. And breaking news, Shabir Ahmed could be deported when the law is changed on Monday. The Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has just announced. More on that after your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Summer-like weather, previously confined to the southern half of the UK, is now extending north with widespread sunny skies and very warm, if not hot, conditions for the rest of Wednesday, turning even hotter over the next couple of days. High pressure is extending its way in from the southwest and reaching now northern England, parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, although some weak weather fronts continue to bring a low cloud and patchy drizzle to the far northwest of the UK, and we'll see low cloud creep into western fringes of Britain overnight as well. Clear skies further east, whether you've got the clear skies or the cloud, temperatures will stay up in the mid to high teens, 20 Celsius in a few spots, so very warm night to come. Uncomfortable for sleeping. Nevertheless, it is a warm and mostly bright start to Thursday. A couple of exceptions, the north coast of Devon and Cornwall, western side of Wales, as well as the northwest of England, prone to low cloud and mistiness first thing. That will tend to lift and break, retreat back to the coast through the morning. Northern Ireland, the clouds sticking around a bit longer, and western Scotland, always prone to thicker cloud here with some light rain and drizzle. But apart from the light rain and drizzle in the west of Scotland, it's dry and bright for virtually the whole of the country. Some thin layers of high cloud will start to spill in from the west across Scotland and Northern Ireland through the day, but for England and Wales, unbroken blue skies by the afternoon, and widely here, temperatures of 30 to 35 Celsius, mid to high 20s for northern England, southern Scotland, mid 20s for Northern Ireland, and it's looking like the thick cloud there across the far north and northwest of Scotland will keep things on the cool side, but otherwise it's another very warm night on Thursday night, leading to a hot day on Friday, temperatures reaching potentially in the hottest spots 36 Celsius before slowly cooling down through the weekend.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. There is a collision on the M40 southbound. The M62 westbound in Bury is affected by a collision. Traffic is slow after a collision on the M56 eastbound in Trafford. A Across Wales, the A55 westbound is closed between Junction 6 at Nant Turnpike and Junction 5 at Engidi, following a vehicle fire. In Scotland, the A75 eastbound exit slip at Gretna is closed due to roadworks. And on the trains, there is disruption on Avanti West Coast services between Birmingham New Street and Wolverhampton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
What would you do with £60,000 cash? What would you do with a real gold bar? Well, both have to be won in our Golden Summer celebration. First, there's £60,000 in tax-free cash to bolster your bank account this year. Plus, we'll also give you a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on a BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you on a sizzling day here in Westminster. It's 5 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting for you until 6 p.m. A cracking show awaits. Here's our top story today.
Vote or not to vote is a choice. If you want to, you can ignore the whole thing. I said to people, we'll use the opportunity, because if we don't vote for this, we're never going to get change.
Farage has been utterly exposed in this complete stunt that he was trying to set up.
Yes, the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has now formally resigned as the Member of Parliament for Clacton, paving the way for an almighty, historic by-election like now we hear to take place on August the 6th, after some members of the establishment tried to stop it. Could this be the by-election of the century? August the 6th. Game on. GB News will today give you unparalleled, exclusive insight throughout the rest of today's show. It's been revealed in this past 30 minutes that the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood is apparently set to change the law so the Pakistani-born paedophile, the ringleader of the Rochdale rape gang, Shabir Ahmed, can now be deported, we're hearing, by amending the 1971 Immigration Act. But will Pakistan play ball?
To complain about his privacy being invaded takes not just the biscuit, but the whole tin.
Yes, after Prince Harry's right royal drubbing in the High Court, might the fallen prince now be facing an enormous legal bill of £50 million? And might that leave one right royally broke? We'll have all the latest on Harry's High Court hammering. And a damning new report published today suggests that 28% of Brits believe Muslims cannot integrate into British society, and 61% believe the country's national identity is disappearing due to diversity. Here's the question: has the multicultural dream turned into a nightmare? And that's all coming up in your next hour. Game On in Clacton. We're hearing August the 6th is the date of that by-election, less than a month's time. A month time purdah period suits an incumbent who believes they have a high chance of winning. Remember, it was 4 weeks in Makerfield. It allows your opponents less time to form up and get their vote out. Of course, we're hearing at the moment nobody else is standing. The Conservatives won't stand. The Labour Party won't stand. The Liberal Democrats won't stand. And surprising for some, perhaps, on the same team sheet, Restore, they won't field a candidate either. What are they afraid of? Are they afraid, perhaps, of getting clattered in Clacton? The scores on the door suggest Nigel Farage will walk it. So we're talking about that. Plus, we've heard in this last 30 minutes, Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, is now apparently considering changing the law. They told us it wasn't possible. But once again, after a gigantic public backlash, just like we saw with the rape gang inquiry, it suddenly seems where there is a will, there is a way to change the law. But here's the question: will Pakistan take back their paedophilic Rochdale grooming gang rape leader Shabir Ahmed, or might they still lay down conditions, flights from Islamabad, or the return of political prisoners? A huge amount to get through in this next hour. Don't go anywhere. You're with us here on GB News. Get in touch, gbnews.com/your say is the way to do so, or scan the QR code on your screens now. But now it's time for your headlines with the magnificent Katie Bowen.
Martin, thank you and good afternoon. The headlines at 3 minutes past 5. Sir Keir Starmer has defended his record both as Labour Party leader and on defence spending at the conclusion of the NATO summit in Ankara, saying the conference achieved unity. The Prime Minister called for a focus on getting back to a ceasefire in the Middle East after recent days had posed additional challenges in the region. At his final international conference before stepping down as Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer went on to comment on the UK-US relationship, describing it as a strategic alliance, saying he is glad he's been able to achieve a good relationship with President Trump.
Obviously, there are a number of questions which my parliamentary party has been asking in relation to the question who is the best person to pick our party up after the 2019 election, root out anti-Semitism, make us face the country and change the Labour Party. That question's been answered as to who should lead us through that. Who is the right person to lead us to a general election victory, a landslide victory? That question has been answered. Landslide Labour election victories don't come very often. There's only been 3 in the history of the Labour Party, and I delivered one of them. The question the parliamentary party now is asking is who's the best person to lead us into the next election? They've answered that question. I accept that answer in good grace.
To the Middle East, US President Donald Trump said that the US will probably hit Iran very hard again tonight. It comes following his earlier comments declaring the ceasefire with the country over, adding he didn't want to deal with them anymore.
So we hit them very hard last night, very, very hard. Probably hit them hard again tonight. I'll give them a little warning, we're going to hit them hard tonight. But we'll see how it all works out. No, I'm not happy with them.
Well, the president went on to say that the US may take over Karg Island and threatened to put the blockade back in place. Overnight, Iran had said it targeted American military sites in Bahrain and Kuwait in response to US strikes on more than 80 Iranian targets. Elsewhere, Reform UK has said it will propose a by-election in the Clacton seat vacated by Nigel Farage on the 6th of August. Earlier, Mr Farage formally quit as the MP for Clacton after being appointed as steward and bailiff of the Manor of Northstead under the procedure used to resign from the House of Commons. This afternoon, Chancellor Rachel Reeves said she would agree to Mr Farage's request to quit as an MP so he can, quote, spend the summer arguing with the bin. That's as the Liberal Democrats had called on her to block the process, saying Mr Farage should not be allowed to quit until a parliamentary investigation into undeclared donations had concluded. A father suspected of murdering his wife and 2 daughters is thought to have left the UK for Zimbabwe. Nothabo Zandile, Natalie and Nala Schumer were found dead in a detached house near Bedford after concerns were raised on Monday that they had not been seen for several days. Bedfordshire police believe they were murdered and the suspect has been identified as 45-year-old Ndona Makanasai Tshuma, who goes by the name of Mark. The force has issued a CCTV image of Tshuma, a British citizen of Zimbabwean heritage, who's believed to have left the country from Heathrow Airport on a British passport on Saturday. And the King has accepted the government's advice to grant Ruth Ellis, the last woman to be executed in the United Kingdom, a conditional pardon, Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy has said. Ruth Ellis was executed on the 13th of July 1955 after being convicted of murdering David Blakely. Last year, her grandchildren called for a posthumous pardon, saying she was physically and emotionally abused by her partner before killing him. David Lammy added that he hopes the decision provides some peace to her family. Those are your latest GB News headlines. A quick look at the markets.
Going through the ceiling, finding the floor. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
And €1.17. The price of gold is £3,018 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 10,469 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Thank you, Katie. Game on. Breaking news just into us here at GB News. Reform UK said it will propose a by-election in the Clacton seat vacated by Nigel Farage on the 6th of August, so less than 4 weeks' time. The 6th of August is the date. Game on. Now, this comes, of course, after the Reform leader formally quit as an MP this afternoon. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, confirmed she agreed to Mr Farage's request, adding, with a barbed humour, if he wants to spend the summer arguing with a bin, then I won't stop him. Well, I'm joined in the studio by GB News' political editor Chris Hope, and we're awaiting the arrival of the Reform UK Treasury spokesperson, Robert Jenrick MP. He'll join us in a moment's time, Chris, but for now, let's have a mano a mano conversation. Game on, August the 5th. The date has been set.
It has been. I mean, we thought it might go until August the 13th, but there we have it. A battle between Nigel Farage and who? Well, maybe Count Binface, a novelty candidate who stood in the Mayfield by-election, of course, and also maybe Lawrence Fox, formerly of this parish, now who runs this party called Reclaim UK, a very, very small party based around issues of freedom of speech and that kind of thing. So, yes, I mean, what does it mean? I wonder whether, there's not beyond the realms that a single candidate who unites all opposition against Nigel Farage could do quite well with the Clacton by-election. It could be the case that the anyone but Farage candidate, even if that is a character called Count Binface, could run him quite close. I doubt it. We expect Nigel Farage to win. We've been hearing from the Prime Minister at NATO. He's been talking a lot about this. Of course, he isn't here. We heard David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister, run the questions earlier. But let's hear what he said to us earlier.
Nigel Farage has been utterly exposed in this complete stunt that he was trying to set up. He's run himself into a cul-de-sac, and it was a stunt, and everybody can see that. And there's a reason for that, and that's because he's up to his neck in sleaze, and he doesn't want to answer questions about it. He doesn't want to answer your questions, questions from the media, doesn't want to answer questions in Parliament. There's a reason for that, and that's because he's got no answers whatsoever.
There we have it. That was Prime Minister Keir Starmer talking from Ankara about Nigel Farage, Martin.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Chris Hope. Now, we have been joined, as if by magic, by Robert Jenrick, just been plumbed in. Robert Jenrick, welcome to Westminster. The date has been set, August the 6th. Purdah is like to fall tomorrow morning, so this will be your last chance, really, to talk openly on GB News about this by-election. What do you got to tell us?
Bring it on. Look, this is a massive gamble by Nigel. He's giving up the job he loves, the constituency that he has been proud to represent for the last 2 years, to make the choice now for the public. Do they want the establishment to win? The old parties in Westminster, their acolytes in the media who've been trying to be judge, jury and executioner of Nigel, or the people of Clacton? And we say this is a democracy. It's up to the people of Clacton to decide. We all know why people are out to get Nigel, because he represents change. He is the only person who is going to bring about the change that this country needs. And that is why the whole cosy consensus in Westminster is trying to stop him.
Rachel Reeves has just said if Nigel Farage wants to spend his summer arguing with a bin, then why should I stand in the way? The line that all the parties, which is quite interesting now, from the Liberal Democrats, the Conservatives, the Labour Party, even Restore, seem to be taking the same pitch. They don't want to legitimise this election. They want the Standards Committee to find first. They seem to have prejudged its findings.
Yeah, come off.
What's your take on that?
Come off it. They all called for a by-election, and now that Nigel has called their bluff and said, bring it on, there's going to be a by-election, they haven't got the guts to put forward candidates, presumably because they think that they would lose, maybe lose badly. Let's see. But they were too cowardly to actually take on Nigel and put this to the people in Clacton. It is a stitch-up. We all know that, because Kemi Badenoch is out there saying that he's guilty and there's going to be a second by-election. I mean, how ridiculous is that? She's comparing him to Jeremy Thorpe, you know, a 70s politician who was tried for conspiracy to murder. What a weird and sick thing to be saying. This was going to end in a by-election because Labour and the Tories and the other parties wanted it. So Nigel has called their bluff and he's having one now. And they don't want anything to do with it. That says a lot about them and their weakness, not Nigel's.
Are you worried, Robert Jenrick? Because if there's a single candidate, let's say it is Count Binface, novelty candidate, if you add the votes of all the other parties at last general election, Conservative, Labour, Lib Dem, Green, he would lose by 2,000 votes. It is possible that there could be anyone but Farage candidate. All the other parties unite behind that single candidate, and we have a Binface rather than Farage as they'll be for Clacton next month.
It's a big risk, isn't it? Look, Nigel has risked a lot by doing this. That's why most politicians don't go and do this, do they? But he's put his career on the line because he believes there's something very important to fight for here. He wasn't prepared just to allow this stitch-up, this kangaroo court to unfold in the months ahead. He wasn't prepared to waste the rest of this year. He wants to settle this matter once and for all in the hands of the people, not bureaucrats or officials over in the Palace of Westminster, and to get on to talk about the issues that we really care about, the change the reform will bring if we're lucky enough to win the next general election.
Robert Jenrick, I want to return to that comment you just said, the Standards Committee, which the parliamentarians over there seem to have already prejudged it will find against Nigel Farage. You called it a kangaroo court.
Well, look, I'm not going to question the integrity of Daniel Greenberg, who is the Standards Commissioner, but without question, the committees, the Member of Parliament on that committee, there's no reform representation on that. And ultimately, it would go to a vote in the House of Commons where we've got our doughty band of 8 Members of Parliament, but everybody else, obviously, is against reform in the House of Commons. And importantly, Kemi Badenoch, Rupert Lowe, Keir Starmer, Andy Burnham, they all seem to have prejudged this thing. They're all saying that there is an investigation. We don't actually know. Daniel Greenberg hasn't said that he's investigating. They're saying that Nigel is going to be found guilty by that investigation and that it's going to lead to another by-election later in the year. So forgive me for feeling a little bit sceptical that they're going to treat this in a fair-minded way. That is Nigel is saying, cut through this whole nonsense, go straight to the people in Clacton. We live in a democracy. Ultimately, they should be the judges of who represents them in Parliament, who is fit to lead this country if Nigel is lucky enough to win the general election.
I'm looking at the membership here of the committee you're describing. There's a majority of lay members on there. There's a majority of ordinary members of the public on this committee. It's not
sure, but the members of Parliament...
You're not surely impugning their reputation.
Look, I don't know them, and nor would I impugn their integrity. What I can say is that the members of Parliament on the committee, there is no reform representation, and the leaders of our main political parties have already come out and said that there should be a second by-election. And I'll just say, how absurd, how ridiculous would it be that Nigel puts himself for this by-election, say he wins convincingly. How absurd would it be if there was another by-election down the line and we go back to ask the people of Clacton all over again? That really would demonstrate that the cosy consensus, the establishment, whatever you want to call it, are out to get Nigel because they don't want him to be Prime Minister. They cannot beat him at the ballot box, so they're going to try every which way to stop him, whether it's changing the law so that Brits can't give donations to reform, cancelling elections, as we saw in May for 5 million people, or coming up with ludicrous allegations against him which try to force a by-election.
OK, Robert Jenrick, punchy stuff there. Could I get your reaction to breaking news in this past 30 minutes? We are hearing, if we believe, that Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, is saying that she will now change the law. On Monday, we hear. So the paedophile, the pervert, the rape gang ringleader, the monster Shabir Ahmed can be deported to Pakistan.
Good news. Good news. We'll obviously back her in that. But will she pick up the phone to the Prime Minister of Pakistan and say, you must take this man back, and if you don't, then we will cut off all the visas to Pakistan overnight, and we will not issue a single visa until such time as that man, that monster, is on Pakistan soil. I would be very surprised if she said that, but that's my challenge to her. Cut the visas, cut foreign aid, the 80 million quid that we give every year to foreign aid, until that monster is off our soil and in Pakistan. That is the true test of whether she means business on this issue.
Robert Jenrick, thank you very much for coming to see us here in Westminster, as ever. Chris Oak, thank you very much indeed to you both. Get my next guest now, the former Labour Party MP, Graham Jones. Graham, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. Can I ask you about the notion of this Standards Committee there? Robert Jenrick, very punchy, saying it's stacked with parliamentarians who don't like Nigel Farage and the political opponents of Nigel Farage, including Andy Burnham, Keir Starmer, Kemi Badenoch, Ed Davey, even Rupert Lowe seems to have made their mind up already that Nigel Farage is guilty as charged.
Well, hi, Martin. It's lovely to be on your show again. I think Andy's not said anything. Andy Burnham hasn't actually said anything about this. I think previously, and I agree with him, and in some ways I have a tiny bit of sympathy with Nigel. You know, I think we need to dial down some of this argy-bargy Westminster stuff and start focusing on delivering for the country. I don't know the particulars, and none of us know the particulars of the committee and Nigel's position. I think it is a bit of a gimmick. He should have carried on as a parliamentarian and let due process take its course. I understand that there are people knocking at his door, journalists. I know what it's like when it's like that, and it isn't pleasant, and it is dialed up, and it's not nice, and he does have a point, and that's why I'm a supporter of Andy Burnham, because I just think we need to move away from these Westminster circuses, this gimmick, and start to focus on the delivery of.
OK, Graham, I want to pick you up on that. How come it's a gimmick when Nigel Farage calls a by-election, but it's a laudable act, a noble act, when Andy Burnham calls a by-election? It was a political coup, a stitch-up to assassinate Keir Starmer's political career, and you're going, great. That's a good thing. But when Nigel Farage does it, you're saying it's a gimmick, it's a circus. What's the difference?
Well, I think there's a huge difference, Martin. We don't normally disagree, but I don't quite share your perspective on this. I think that Nigel Farage is already the Member of Parliament for Clacton, and there's a due process. In the case of Andy Burnham, you are the Prime Minister who was in crisis, unable to run the country, and a leader who he was blocking. Andy Burnham didn't. We don't know the particulars.
That's a stitch-up, Graham. It's a seat handed in a chummy backroom deal by the sitting parliamentarian to Andy Burnham. And by the way, the same parliamentarian has now been rewarded with a top job in the comms department. Come off it. People can see it's for what it is. It's a stitch-up.
No, I don't see it as a stitch-up, but I do see it as an arrangement where Andy got into Parliament because the Labour Party was in crisis and Keir Starmer was in crisis, and the Labour Party needs to run the country and it needs a leader and it needs a Prime Minister, and Andy Burnham's that person. So I don't see it as a stitch-up. I think most of the country actually see it as a progressive step, although they would probably say that anything is a step forward from Starmer.
Graham, could I ask you about the date is now on August the 6th, we're hearing, is the by-election date there in Clacton. The Labour Party won't be present with the candidate, as the other parties, the main parties, won't either. Robert Jenrick just said that's because you're scared, it's because you're cowards.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, is this. I've got mixed views about, when elections are called, for whatever reason, the public have a right to a fair contest. The circumstances under which Nigel has called this are not the circumstances I would have advised him to take. And just quickly moving on to another point, I think Christopher's point is, I think the bookies, I just checked the bookies, and Nigel's at 85% chance of winning, and Count Binface is about 15%. So it's not a done deal. Nigel's clear favourite and should win. But Count Binface is in this race.
There you go. Who'd have thought it? A former Labour parliamentarian there effectively backing a bin and not fielding your own candidate. What a time to be alive. What a summer it's going to be. Graham Jones, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. Appreciate your time as ever, my friend. Now, still to come, it's been reported in this past 20 minutes, the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood is, we hear, set to change the law so the Pakistani paedophile, the ringleader of the Rochdale rape gang, Shabir Ahmed, can now be deported by amending the 1971 Immigration Act. But here's the point. Will Pakistan play ball? Well, if they don't, should be forced their hand. And also next, a damning new report suggests that 28% of Brits believe Muslims cannot integrate into British society. Has the multicultural dream turned into a nightmare? That's next here on GB News and with Britain's #1 news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
What a day in politics. It's 5:26 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, a damning new poll published today has shown that 2 in 5 Brits, in fact, it's 28% of Brits, believe that Muslims cannot integrate into British society. Now, the report also found that 61% believe the country's national identity is disappearing due to diversity. Now, the polling of British Muslims, however, did find that 85% are in favour of integration and 88% saying they mix comfortably with other faiths. So what do we make of all of this? Is there an integration problem with British Muslims? So let's get my guest in now, and that's the founder of the Oxford Institute for British Islam, Dr. Taj Hagi. Dr. Taj, always a pleasure to have your company. Are you surprised that 28% of Brits believe Muslims cannot integrate properly?
No, I actually think it's a lower figure. I think the figure is quite high.
much higher than that. I would say maybe even 30 to 40%. And the reason being is that Muslims themselves do not wish to integrate in the society properly. You know, I mean, for example, they deliberately bring their culture, their customs, their clothing, their creed, their cuisine, all of this to emphasize the difference between Muslims and others. They revel in making a distinction between the majority community and these immigrants. And with that type of mindset, and where does that mindset come from? No one wants to, this report doesn't even mention the word theology. I mean, this mindset of Muslim separatism and divisiveness and superiority complex and all that comes from theology, theology, theology. It is this theology of the mullahs, of the Islamists, of the fundamentalists, of the fanatics that make sure that Muslims do not fully integrate. Now, I actually dispute this figure of 80%, 85% saying that they are integrated and they have good relationships with people who are not Muslim. I think that's a far exaggerated figure. I wouldn't place it more than 65 to 75%. But that's still very high. So the question is right. What do we need to do to make sure that more Muslims are fully integrated? That's because it's the responsibility is on them. They have come to this country. Okay, the majority indigenous white population do not need to integrate. We who have come as immigrants, we need to integrate. So how do we get Muslims to be fully integrated and to make sure then that fewer indigenous white are less antagonistic towards Muslims? That's the issue, and that's how to deal with that.
Dr. Taj Holgi, you raise an excellent point. How do we do that? I mean, we have situations quite evidently when you walk around British towns, British cities, where you see silos, you see very densely concentrated areas of Muslim faith. We don't see marriage across those faiths. We don't see people practicing their faith together. We can't force people to integrate, so what do we do?
No, but I think what's important is that, you know, I've maintained this for the past 10, 20 years. I mean, for example, why do we allow not just Muslims but others, why do we allow them to become citizens or naturalized people in this society without learning English? Okay, why do we allow them to have their own sort of silos and ghettos? I mean, where is the proactive steps from the government, from NGOs and other organizations to bring people together? Now, yes, we can't force people to do this, but for example, you raised a very important question about interfaith marriage. Now, our organization, our institute is the only one that allows Muslim women, listen to this, Muslim women to marry non-Muslim men without the men having to convert. Because this is not an Islamic requirement. Nowhere in the Quran does it forbid Muslim women from marrying non-Muslim partners. But the clergy, the mullahs, the mosques and the madrasas, all of them are peddling this narrative that it is haram, it's prohibited, and it's not permissible. So there are many, many ways that we can actually integrate more effectively, but we need the help from the government, from councils, and from all other interested parties in the society.
Dr. Taj, could I just put one point to you? This survey, it was commissioned by Sarah Khan. She stood down in 2024 as the UK's first counter-extremism commissioner. She maintains that the findings here show that 85% of Muslims do favour integration. You're a Muslim yourself, but you don't think that's the truth?
No, I think that's lip service, with due respect, because if it was 85% integrated, why would they be happy to live in these silos and apartheid-like ghettos? I mean, this is I dispute those figures. The figures are much lower. I would say no more than 60, 70% of Muslims are interested in integration. We still have a big chunk, though, of 30 to 35% who are not willing and not interested in integrating. And that is the big issue for us, because you can't have a third of the population in a community who doesn't want to be part of the society. They're reveling being apart from it. And we now need to make sure that they don't get any more traction, because if this type of mentality and ideology gets traction, that puts all of us in jeopardy, both Muslims as well as the majority non-Muslim community, the white indigenous population in this country.
OK, thank you for your honesty, as ever. I appreciate it. That's Dr Taj Hoggy, who's the founder of the Oxford Institute for British Islam. Thank you for your company today. So now, still to come, it's been reported that the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood is now set to change the law so the Pakistani-born paedophile, the ringleader of the Rochdale rape gang, can be deported by amending the 1971 Immigration Act. But here's the big question. Will Pakistan play ball, or will we have to show them who's the boss? But for now, if you're travelling home from work or from school, here's your traffic and your travel updates. And as I always say, stay safe and stick with us.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. There is a collision on the M40 northbound causing slow traffic. The M42 northbound in Birmingham is affected by a reported collision. The M25 clockwise near Windsor and Maidenhead has delays following a reported collision. The M1 northbound is experiencing delays following a collision. On the M60 anti-clockwise near Salford, a collision is causing slow traffic. In Scotland, the M74 southbound between Junction 3 at Carmile Avenue and Junction 3A at Daldowie has lane restrictions causing queues. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast services between Birmingham New Street and Wolverhampton are disrupted. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon. The latest news headlines at 5:33. Speaking at the NATO summit in Ankara, US President Donald Trump said that the US will probably hit Iran again tonight. The president went on to say that the US may take over Karg Island and also said that he could put the blockade back in place.
So we hit them very hard last night. Very, very hard. Probably hit them hard again tonight. I'll give them a little warning. We're going to hit them hard tonight. But we'll see how it all works out. No, I'm not happy with them.
Nigel Farage has now formally quit as the MP for Clacton after being appointed as steward and bailiff of the Manor of Northstead under the procedure used to resign from the House of Commons. Reform UK has said that it will propose a by-election in the Clacton seat on the 6th of August. Elsewhere, the King has accepted the government's advice to grant Ruth Ellis, the last woman to be executed in the United Kingdom, a conditional pardon. She was executed on the 13th of July 1955 after being convicted of murdering David Blakely. Last year, her grandchildren called for a posthumous pardon, saying she was physically and emotionally abused by her partner before she killed him. And some breaking news to bring you now. Britain's Arthur Ferry has reached the Wimbledon semi-finals after beating Italy's Flavio Cobolli in their quarter-final match. Those are your latest GB News headlines. More news at the top of the hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Summer-like weather, previously confined to the southern half of the UK, is now extending north with widespread sunny skies and very warm, if not hot conditions for the rest of Wednesday, turning even hotter over the next couple of days. High pressure is extending its way in from the southwest and reaching now northern England, parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, although some weak weather fronts continue to bring a low cloud and patchy drizzle to the far northwest of the UK, and we'll see low cloud creep into western fringes of Britain overnight as well. Clear skies further east, whether you've got the clear skies or the cloud, temperatures will stay up in the mid to high teens, 20 Celsius in a few spots, so very warm night to come. Uncomfortable for sleeping. Nevertheless, it is a warm and mostly bright start to Thursday. A couple of exceptions, the north coast of Devon and Cornwall, western side of Wales, as well as the northwest of England, prone to low cloud and mistiness first thing. That will tend to lift and break, retreat back to the coast through the morning. Northern Ireland, the clouds sticking around a bit longer, and western Scotland, always prone to thicker cloud here with some light rain and drizzle. But apart from the light rain and drizzle in the west of Scotland, it's dry and bright for virtually the whole of the country. Some thin layers of high cloud will start to spill in from the west across Scotland and Northern Ireland through the day, but for England and Wales, unbroken blue skies by the afternoon, and widely here, temperatures of 30 to 35 Celsius, mid to high 20s for northern England, southern Scotland, mid 20s for Northern Ireland, and it's looking like the thick cloud there across the far north and northwest of Scotland will keep things on the cool side, but otherwise it's another very warm night on Thursday night, leading to a hot day on Friday, temperatures reaching potentially in the hottest spots 36 Celsius before slowly cooling down through the weekend.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back. Time is 5:38 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, is set to change the law, we hear, so the Pakistani-born paedophile, the ringleader of the Rochdale rape gang, Shabir Ahmed, can now be deported. We're hearing from the Telegraph that on Monday, the Home Secretary is now expected to explain how the government will now amend the 1971 Immigration Act, which thus far has prevented Shabir Ahmed from being removed from Britain. But here's the question: will Pakistan play ball? And if they don't, should we show them who's boss? Well, let's now speak with the migration expert, Mike Jones. Mike, welcome to the show. A pleasure, as always, to have your company. Let's start by saying, if this is true, if at last we can deport this monster, then hats off to Shabana Mahmood.
Absolutely. I mean, it's low-hanging fruit, isn't it? There's a loophole in the Immigration Act of 1971. Basically, if you arrived before 1973 and have lived here for 5 years, then you're allowed to stay, even if you're a foreign criminal. Removing that loophole should be quite straightforward. But obviously, there's the big issue of Pakistan. Will they play ball on this? I'm rather skeptical. But generally speaking, there are many more loopholes, not within the 1971 Immigration Act, but within the Human Rights Act itself. And those need to be addressed fundamentally.
And Mike Jones, the big question here, the huge question, of course, is will Pakistan actually do as they're told? Today, they're still banging on about taking political prisoners in exchange. Previously, they've been demanding special flights laid on from Islamabad. Surely, the only way to deal with them is to show them who's boss and say, look, you're going to take this monster back, and if you don't, we're going to slam you. We're going to come down like a ton of bricks on you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Pakistan has a nerve playing hardball. We give them, 50 million in foreign aid every year. Immigration from Pakistan has been quite problematic for the UK, particularly on the students and family visas. And obviously, Pakistan are demanding political dissidents back in return. One Pakistani representative said this is indicative of a colonial mindset. He's referring to Shabana Mahmood. Well, if that's Pakistan's position, then I think we should adopt a nationalist mindset rather than a colonialist one. And I think we should consider visa bans as the first port of call with Pakistan. We already have visa bans in place on the student visa, and then we can use possible taxes on remittances as leverage to try and get Ahmed deported.
All of that sounds perfectly laudable. It sounds like complete common sense. But I put it to you, Mike Jones, it won't happen. Because we seem to have a government that had to be dragged into this action. We've been told since this monster was released, we knew he was going to be released a week before. We've been continually covering it on this channel. And yet the Labour Party in particular seems to have been caught in the headlights, saying we can't change the law. It's changing the law retrospectively isn't what we're allowed to do. And if you recall, go back in time, Mike Jones, you know full well, the Labour Party seemed to have to be dragged, kicking and screaming, into actually performing a nationwide rape gang inquiry. It seems to take a lot of leverage, a lot of pressure, a lot of heat before the Labour Party sees sense.
Yeah, they drag their feet on everything because the parliamentary Labour Party fundamentally don't care about illegal immigration. They don't care about FNOs and whether they're deported or not. They're just fundamentally not in tune with public opinion. I think Shabana Mahmood made a very good decision introducing visa bans on the student visa for, Afghanistan, Cameroon, Burma, Sudan. That was a great step forward. But when, Camilla Tominey of GB News asked her the question, why haven't Pakistan and Bangladesh, the two biggest offenders on the visa, the student visa, been put on that list? Her response was rather sheepish. She said, well, this is a work in progress. Well, okay, right, but this is the time to be robust. Use visa bans as leverage and then move on to taxes on remittances. You should also threaten the Pakistani government with cuts to foreign aid as well. Listen, if Labour do have a sort of road to Damascus conversion and become a lot more robust on this, the British public will respond very, very positively. But of course, whether they go down that route or not, only time will tell. I'm sceptical.
Do you think, Mike Jones, that Islamabad might be looking at this now and think, we can't just cave in? We can't just take Shabir Ahmed back? Because I was speaking to Marcus Johnson earlier on. He's a solicitor that works in these cases nationwide. He's worked in them for over 20 years. He's seeing a huge trend. He's seeing an uptick in these kind of cases. There'll surely be many, many more Shabir Ahmeds being released. So if Pakistan takes Shabir Ahmed, they may be taking an entire battalion of paedophiles, of monsters, of rapists, and despite the moral conundrum here of doing the right thing, they might dig in and say, we're not going to play ball.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. But if we threaten to impose taxes on remittances, the money that British Pakistanis send back to Pakistan, that would send alarm bells ringing in Islamabad, because that money obviously goes to much poorer families, and that decision would have repercussions within Pakistani domestic politics. So that's leverage that we do have, and obviously foreign aid as well. But as you say, Martin, Pakistan are going to dig their heels in. They're going to play hardball. The only way to deal with people like this is to play hardball yourself. Donald Trump has demonstrated this. We need to do the same.
Let's see if that happens. We're hearing that this will be changed on Monday. Let's see what happens next. But look, thank you. It's been way too long since you've been on the programme, my friend. Migration expert Mike Jones. Always a pleasure to have your company. Thank you very much for joining us today on GB News. Now, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here is the forecast for some of your top European destinations. Stick with us. See you soon.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Plenty of hot sunshine across Europe at the moment, especially hot for France and Spain. Temperatures here well above average for the time of year, but continuing to be relatively showery for Greece into Turkey. Some lively thunderstorms inland, a few affecting the islands as well. Some showers popping up over Italy where it's hot, but not as hot as much of Spain, Portugal, France, where temperatures are well above average for the time of year. It stays hot through the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Started event at Madison Square Garden last night. We believe for about 100 guests. Could that have been a rehearsal dinner?
1,000 guests, even.
Well, no, that's today. 1,000 guests today.
Oh, is it?
Yes, for a much larger event. So could last night have been the rehearsal dinner? Could today be the wedding? That's what everyone's speculating. New York is said to be buzzing. This is America's royal wedding. Let's talk to showbiz journalist Ed Gleave, who joins us now. Morning to you, Ed. What's it like over there stateside? Is it being dubbed this royal wedding?
Yeah, I think for America, that's exactly what it is. And I think added to it is the fact that no one really knows for sure what's happening. I think this sort of speculation is kind of adding to the excitement for fans.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
They don't like Trump, Trump doesn't like them, and they're sort of outdoing him on the 4th of July.
I don't know whether that would have come into their thinking, but I mean, it certainly does, or the evidence is there to suggest so. She has been a vocal Trump critic, and a lot of the people that attended on the guest list aren't exactly, you know, the biggest Trump fans. I'll read out a few names for you now. We've got Bradley Cooper, Greg James, Zoe Kravitz, Ed Sheeran, Ellie Goulding, Hugh Grant, Graham Norton, Ethan Hawke, Jason Sudeikis, Jimmy Fallon, who we know isn't a very big Trump fan, Jessica Chastain, Dakota Johnson, Camila Cabello. These names may not mean a lot to some people, but trust me, they are, at the moment, very popular.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The Duchess of Sussex, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet are not going to come to London with Prince Harry tomorrow, despite earlier suggestions that they would join him.
A change of plans apparently causing frustration, with sources claiming senior royals are tired of what they describe as the will they, won't they approach.
Yeah, I think we all are, aren't we? It's still unclear, apparently, whether Meghan and the children will join Harry for the rest of his visit, which is a bit later on in the week. But they're certainly not coming, as so many reporters predicted.
With all the security issues, I mean, the thing is, it's not saying that he doesn't get the security. It's on a case-by-case basis. So it's completely possible that he would get the royal protection that he wants while he's here. It's just not an automatic guarantee, and that's what the fight's about.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. Time is 5:48 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, public sector net debt has soared. It's risen to a record high of more than £2.9 trillion, having nearly doubled since the mid-2010s. Well, I'm joined in the studio by the campaigns director of the Taxpayers Alliance, a great friend of the channel, William Yarwood. William, it's always a pleasure and never a chore to have your company. These numbers are simply astonishing. Debt going through the roof. Who are the worst offenders?
Worst offenders, well, let's just bring this on a more macro level. Local authority debt in the UK reached a record high of £154 billion. £154 billion. And that's double what it was in 2009, 2010. So there's clearly something going on at the local government level. The worst offenders are right here in London, Martin, right here in London. The Greater London body authorities that are controlled by the GLA, including TfL, they are some of the worst offenders, with the Greater London authorities having about £20 billion worth of debt collectively controlled in themselves. And the worst offender outside of London is Birmingham City Council, famous Birmingham City Council, of course, because it went bankrupt due to equal pay liability claims, and of course has undergone a pretty brutal bin strike. So local government debt is really, really important, because when local government fails and can't pay its bills, ordinary taxpayers suffer, public services suffer, and in the case of Birmingham, their entire city suffers under a mountain of waste.
These councils are clearly leaking worse than a dodgy bin bag. Where's all the money going?
So it's a combination of things, Martin. First of all, we can just talk about general town hall waste. We can talk about how many, senior managers are on over 100 grand a year. But I think actually there's a more serious point here. It's because lots of councils have been essentially They've turned into dumping grounds for Westminster welfare. So essentially they've turned into welfare states in regards to sending and social care. We did a piece of research at the TPA where it showed that actually statutory obligations on local councils regarding sending social care, their budgets are over 50%, which, by the way, Martin, they can't control. They have to spend that 50% of their income on that issue. And because, of course, they have to spend it, that naturally incurs costs on local council taxpayers, which is why council tax goes up. But that also means why there's more increased borrowing. Now, there's also things like council speculation on properties. There's also just reckless borrowing from different administrations. But I think the biggest issue here, Martin, the thing we really have to get across, is Westminster is using local councils as dumping grounds for welfare priorities that should be at the national level.
William, some of the stats here are simply astonishing. Local authority debt in England and Wales is equivalent to more than 53 million average Band D council tax bills, and local authority debt in England and Wales last year is more than 7 times the estimated £18.6 billion cost of repairing all the potholes. William Yule, perhaps you fill the potholes full of inefficient public servants.
Yeah, maybe so, but I mean, that speaks, the pothole point, while it is entertaining to talk about, it proves a key point here, Martin. When local councils are focused on welfare priorities that have been dumped on them from Westminster, when they're focused on things like, you know, town hall boss pay, when they're focused on council speculation regarding properties, what they're not doing here, Martin, is focusing on public services like potholes, like beautification projects, and that means more and more money is taken away from those things and spent on the other things that they're forced to spend on.
My final point, William Yarwood, we have an incoming Prime Minister who wants to devolve more power to local councils. It looks like that's a bad idea if you look at your numbers.
Yeah, it is a bad idea, I think, generally, because what you know about these local authorities is they're not going to spend the money well, they're just going to hike taxes on local people, and they're going to build even bigger bureaucracies, which local council taxpayers, and including people like me and you in London, Martin, are going to have to pay for out of our back pocket.
Do you think that these people can be trusted with our money? Well, that's a debate that will rage and rage. William Yarwood, always a pleasure. Thank you for coming in to see us. Taxpayers Alliance Campaigns Director, one of the best in the business. Thank you very much indeed. Now, don't forget, the date has now been set. August the 6th is the date for that by-election in Clacton. The Labour Party, the Conservative Party, Liberal Democrats, Greens, even Restore Britain haven't fielded a candidate. It's going to be a straight duke at the moment between Nigel Farage and Count Binface, a novelty candidate, but maybe the chickens should be put in the bin. Maybe actually the main parties who seem to have predetermined the outcome of the Standards Committee. Robert Jenrick was in the studio earlier on calling it a kangaroo court. Who are the parliamentarians that make up the committee that will decide Nigel Farage's political fate? Tune in to GB News Tonight with me at 7 o'clock. We've got some scintillating information that might suggest that there's not the neutrality on that panel that they would have us believe. That's next up, though, is Jubes & Co with Michelle Juby. I'll see you at 7.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Summer-like weather previously confined to the southern half of the UK is now extending north with widespread sunny skies and very warm, if not hot, conditions for the rest of Wednesday, turning even hotter over the next couple of days. High pressure is extending its way in from the southwest and reaching now northern England, parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, although some weak weather fronts continue to bring a low cloud and patchy drizzle to the far northwest of the UK. And we'll see low cloud creep into western fringes of Britain overnight as well. Clear skies further east, whether you've got the clear skies or the cloud, temperatures will stay up in the mid to high teens, 20 Celsius in a few spots, so very warm night to come. Uncomfortable for sleeping, nevertheless, it is a warm and mostly bright start to Thursday. A couple of exceptions, the north coast of Devon and Cornwall, western side of Wales, as well as the northwest of England, prone to low cloud and mistiness first thing. That will tend to lift and break, retreat back to the coast through the morning. Northern Ireland, the clouds sticking around a bit longer, and western Scotland, always prone to thicker cloud here with some light rain and drizzle. But apart from the light rain and drizzle in the west of Scotland, it's dry and bright for virtually the whole of the country. Some thin layers of high cloud will start to spill in from the west across Scotland and Northern Ireland through the day, but for England and Wales, unbroken blue skies by the afternoon, and widely here, temperatures of 30 to 35 Celsius, mid to high 20s for northern England, southern Scotland, mid 20s for Northern Ireland, and it's looking like the thick cloud there across the far north and northwest of Scotland will keep things on the cool side, but otherwise it's another very warm night on Thursday night, leading to a hot day on Friday, temperatures reaching potentially in the hottest spots, 36 Celsius, before slowly cooling down through the weekend.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. There is a collision on the M62 eastbound near Warrington. The M25 clockwise is affected by a collision near Slough.